Hey guys, this is Chris. I just finished recording the audiobook version of my book, Buying Freedom, the Dental Practice Handbook. Since starting this YouTube channel and the podcast, I have received so much encouragement and so many people reaching out for interest, helping to buy a practice, to look at different practices, so many emails, so many comments. As a way to say thank you, I have decided to release the audiobook version for free here on YouTube and in the podcast. If you prefer listening to the podcast version, the link will be in the description below. It's also available on Audible if that is where you like to listen to your audiobooks. If you prefer the physical version, that is obviously available on Amazon. You can get the physical or the ebook version there. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy listening to this book. The only thing I ask is if you can go to the Amazon page and leave a review for the book. If you are getting anything out of this, that would be super helpful in helping more people find out about practice ownership and about how life transformative it truly is. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy this audiobook. Hey, this is Chris Marshall. Thank you so much for picking up this audiobook. I'm truly excited to share this journey with you. Buying a dental practice is a life-changing decision, and it's one of the best ways to take control of your career and your future. I've been through the ups and downs of this process myself, and I have made it my mission to help as many dentists as possible navigate this process with confidence. Whether you're just starting to think about ownership or whether you're ready to make the leap today, this book is packed with insight, strategies, and stories to guide you each step of the way. So sit back and let's get started. Best of luck as you take this next step in your career, and remember, you're not alone. You've got this. Introduction: owning your time, owning your life. If you're still working as an associate, you're selling yourself short. The real rewards, financial, professional, and personal, come from practice ownership. Every day you spend working as an associate dentist is a day you're leaving money, opportunities, and control on the table. You might think that staying as an associate gives you time to hone your skills, avoid the responsibilities of ownership, or simply play it safe while earning a steady paycheck. But the reality is, the sooner you step into practice ownership, the sooner you unlock the full potential of your career. You're not just clocking in hours to build up someone else's success. You're missing out on the equity, autonomy, and financial rewards that come with owning your own practice. Taking the reins. When you own a practice, you gain control over your professional life in a way that is impossible as an associate. As a practice owner, you make the decisions that shape your career and your daily work. You choose the treatments you offer, the patients you serve, the team you work with, and the direction your practice takes. Control means flexibility, something that's invaluable, especially if you have a family. One of the biggest misconceptions about practice ownership is that it ties you down and eats into your personal life. The reality is quite opposite. As a practice owner, you have the autonomy to shape your schedule and make decisions that suit your personal and family needs. If your child is sick and needs to be picked up from school, or if there's a soccer game you don't want to miss, you have the freedom to adjust your schedule accordingly. You can simply instruct your front desk to reschedule your afternoon patients. This level of freedom and control over your day-to-day life is unheard of when working as an associate, where you're often subject to someone else's schedule and priorities. If you would rather just work 3 days a week, make it happen. If you prefer to see patients only in the morning and keep your afternoons free, it's up to you. As a practice owner, you have the power to design your work schedule around your life, not the other way around. The beauty of ownership is that it gives you the flexibility to work on your own terms. Practice ownership puts you in charge. Money left on the table. Staying as an associate is costing you. Every year you delay ownership, you're potentially losing out on hundreds of thousands in income and millions in potential equity. You're also missing the chance to build a practice that reflects your vision, to create a workplace culture that aligns with your values, and to make decisions that benefit you, your team, and your patients. Let's look at the numbers. As an associate, you might earn a comfortable salary, say $175,000 to $250,000 per year, but when you own a practice, those earnings can double or even triple. A successful practice owner can earn $400,000 to $600,000 or more annually. That difference in earnings is money you're leaving on the table every year you delay ownership. And that doesn't even take into account the equity that you could be building. If your practice grows in value, you could be looking at millions more when you decide to sell. One of the most compelling reasons to own your practice is the opportunity to build equity, something that simply doesn't happen when you're an associate. When you own a practice, every payment you make towards your loan, every new patient you bring in, and every efficiency you implement contributes to the growth of your practice's value. Over time, this equity can add up to a substantial amount, providing you with a valuable asset that you can eventually sell, often for a significant profit. As you pay down your practice loan, you're building equity in a business that could be worth several $million when you decide to sell it. This is money that goes directly into your pocket, not your employer's. Consider this. Every month as an associate, you're essentially renting your job. You're working hard, but you're not building up anything for yourself. Contrast that with practice ownership, where every day's work is an investment in your future. The practice you build today could be sold in the future to fund your retirement, help with your children getting through college, or provide the financial freedom to pursue new ventures. This is the kind of financial security that you can have as a practice owner. Owning your future. The sooner you make the leap into ownership, the sooner you stop wasting time and start building your future. Every day you delay is a day you're working for someone else's success instead of your own. The rewards of ownership are waiting for you: control, financial success, and the opportunity to create a life and career that truly reflects who you are and what you want. Don't sell yourself short. Take control, own your practice, and start reaping the rewards today. The path to financial freedom, personal fulfillment, and professional success is clear, and it starts with ownership. This isn't just about making more money, it's about taking charge of your life. The real rewards, financial, professional, and personal, come from practice ownership. It's time to stop leaving money and opportunities on the table and start building the future you deserve. My journey into practice ownership. From the moment I stepped into dental school, I had a clear vision of what my future would look like. I wasn't just there to become a dentist. I was there to build something of my own, something that would give me control over my career, financial freedom, and the ability to shape my work environment. I was determined to be more than just an associate. I wanted to be an owner. After graduating, I spent some time working as an associate, learning the ropes, getting a feel for what it takes to run a practice. I soaked up as much knowledge as I could, and when the opportunity finally came to buy my first practice, I jumped at it. I found what seemed like the perfect practice: established, good location, a solid patient base. I was excited and ready to take the plunge into ownership. However, things didn't go as planned. I spent months negotiating the deal, going back and forth with the seller and racking up legal fees. I invested countless hours into due diligence, reviewing financials, and working with my attorney to make sure everything was in order. At the time, $15,000 in legal fees was a huge amount of money for me, money I couldn't afford to lose. But I believed it was a necessary investment in my future. Just when I thought we were nearing the finish line, the deal fell through. The seller got cold feet and the whole thing collapsed. I was devastated. Not only had I lost $15,000, but I had also wasted 4 months of my time. To make matters worse, I had already left my previous job with plans of acquiring the practice. And now I found myself without a job, without a practice, and with no immediate prospects. It was a tough pill to swallow. Looking back, I realized that I had made a lot of mistakes during that first attempt. I didn't know what I didn't know. I went into the process with a lot of confidence, but not enough knowledge. I wish I had the insights and strategy that I've since learned, the very things that are contained in this book. If I had known then what I know now, I could have avoided the pitfalls that cost me time and money. Despite that setback, I didn't give up on my dream of practice ownership. I regrouped, took some time to reassess my approach, and eventually found another practice to purchase. This time, I was more cautious, more informed, and more prepared. But that didn't mean I was immune to making mistakes. Far from it. I still made plenty of them, from overestimating my ability to grow the practice quickly to underestimating the challenges of managing staff and patient expectations. But here's the thing about dental practice ownership. It's incredibly low risk, highly rewarding, even when you make mistakes. Despite my missteps, I was still able to grow and transform the practice into something completely new. I introduced new services, invested in modern technology, and focused on building a strong team. Over time, the practice eventually flourished, and I was able to sell it for multiple times what I had originally paid for it. That experience taught me more than any course or textbook ever could. I learned that practice ownership isn't just about making money. It's about building equity in a business, gaining incredible financial freedom, and creating something that reflects your values and vision. The best part, the potential for financial success is far beyond what most associates could ever imagine. Since selling that first practice, I've had the privilege of helping many other dentists navigate the path to ownership. I've seen firsthand how transformative it can be, not just in terms of income, but in terms of quality of life that it offers. The freedom to set your own schedule, the satisfaction of leading your own team, and the security of owning a valuable asset are just a few of the rewards that come with practice ownership. This book is designed to give you all the necessary steps to succeed where I initially failed. It contains everything I wish I had known during my first attempt at purchasing a practice. Whether you're an associate dentist or even a dental student, this guide will show you how to go from being an employee to owner with an income that might seem unimaginable right now. It will help you build equity in a business, gain the freedom to live life on your own terms, and ultimately create a career that is not only financially rewarding, but deeply fulfilling. Practice ownership isn't just a career choice, it's a life choice. It's about taking control of your future, making the most of your skills and knowledge, and building something that you can be proud of. Yes, there will be challenges along the way, and yes, you might make mistakes. You will make mistakes. But the right guidance and determination, those challenges can become opportunities, and those mistakes can become valuable lessons. As you go through this book, remember that everything in here is designed to help you succeed. It's about giving you the tools, strategies, and insights you need to avoid the pitfalls that I fell into and to make the most of the incredible opportunities that practice ownership offers. I'm confident that if you follow the steps laid out here, you will be well on your way to a successful, rewarding career as a practice owner, one that offers financial freedom, personal fulfillment, and the ability to live life on your own terms. Part 1. Preparing for ownership. Startups versus acquisitions. Why acquisitions win. As you approach the significant milestone of owning your first dental practice, the most important decision you will make is whether to start from the ground up or acquire an existing practice. This choice is not merely a financial consideration. It encompasses your professional future, your peace of mind, and the legacy you wish to establish. While the prospects of building a practice from scratch can be appealing to many, the reality of ownership often reveals a different picture. The incredible cash flow of an acquisition. Imagine stepping into a fully operational dental practice on day one, the hum of activity already in motion. Patients are in the chairs, staff know their roles, and the day's schedule is full. This is the reality of acquiring an existing practice. The financial engine is already running, providing you with the immediate cash flow that a startup can only dream of. The beauty of this scenario lies in its predictability. Revenue is not just a projection, it's a reality. From the first day you take ownership, you have the income to cover your expenses, rent, utilities, salaries, and even your own paycheck. This financial stability is a stark contrast to the uncertain and often nerve-wracking months or even years it can take for a startup to reach profitability. The stress of wondering if you have enough patience to keep the lights on is a burden you won't have to bear with an acquisition. With established revenue streams, you're not only able to cover your costs, but also position yourself for future growth. The practice's history of profitability provides a strong foundation, reducing the financial risks that plague so many startups. It's not just about surviving, it's about thriving from the very beginning. Many young dentists often express concern that purchasing an established practice might be prohibitively expensive, believing that launching a startup might be a more cost-effective alternative. However, this perception is frequently misguided. The reality is that startups can be significantly more expensive than anticipated, often requiring substantial upfront investments in office space, equipment, staffing, and then marketing. These initial costs quickly add up without an established patient base. The practice may struggle to generate revenue in its early stages. This financial burden is often compounded by the lack of immediate income, leaving new owners without the financial stability they need right from the start. In contrast, Acquiring an existing practice not only provides a stable and often predictable revenue stream from day one, but offers a more secure financial foundation. The consistent income generated by an established patient base allows new owners to service their loans comfortably, maintain operational costs, and even draw a salary. This immediate cash flow can alleviate the financial strain that typically accompanies startups, making acquisition a more financially sound and less risky approach to practice ownership. If the right dental practice is purchased, it is entirely feasible for a dentist to earn between $300,000 and $500,000 in their first year of ownership. This potential for substantial income is driven by several factors, including an established and loyal patient base, effective operational systems, and strong community presence. With consistent revenue flowing in from day one, servicing your loan becomes a routine part of your business operations, allowing you to focus on growing your practice and enjoying the rewards of ownership. In a dental practice where monthly expenses can range from $50,000 to $100,000 or more, a loan payment of $5,000 to $15,000 per month becomes a relatively minor part compared to the overall financial picture. With a take-home pay of $20,000 to $30,000 per month, the loan payment is a small portion of your overall budget, allowing you to comfortably manage the cost while still enjoying substantial personal income. This perspective highlights how manageable loan repayments are within the broader context of practice ownership, especially when the practice is well established and profitable. Financing for startups and acquisition. Securing financing for an acquisition of an established dental practice is often a more straightforward process than obtaining funds for a startup. Lenders are generally more comfortable backing a practice with a proven track record of success, as it presents far less risk compared to a new venture with uncertain prospects. When you acquire a practice with an established history of solid cash flow and consistent financial performance, you are essentially presenting the bank with a low-risk investment. The practice's existing revenue streams and profitability provide concrete evidence of its viability, which reassures lenders that their investment will be repaid without issue. Banks view acquisitions as one of the safest loans they can offer. Unlike startups, where the potential for success is speculative, acquisitions come with a history that banks can analyze in detail. The predictability of revenue from an established patient base, along with a well-documented financial history, allows lenders to make informed decisions with confidence. This level of security means that banks are not only more willing to approve loans for acquisitions, but are also likely to offer more favorable terms, such as lower interest rates and extended repayment periods. Moreover, banks often go beyond just financing the purchase of the practice. They understand the importance of a smooth transition into ownership and the need for liquidity during the initial months of running the practice. As a result, many lenders are willing to extend additional financing in the form of working capital. This working capital can be used to cover operational expenses such as payroll, supplies, and marketing, ensuring that the new owner can maintain the practice's momentum without financial strain. This comprehensive support from lenders further emphasizes the advantage of acquiring an existing practice. The combination of a safer loan profile, favorable terms, and access to working capital provides you for success from the very beginning. With the financial banking in place, you can focus on growing and improving the practice rather than worrying about how to cover initial cost or managing cash flow. It is as if the practice itself is vouching for you, giving you a head start that few startups can match, and setting you up for long-term financial stability and growth. Building on a strong foundation, the power of an established patient base. Picture this: a patient walks into your newly acquired dental practice, greeted by familiar faces and a sense of continuity. They may notice a new name on the door, but inside it feels like the same trusted place they've been visiting for years. This seamless transition is one of the most significant advantages of acquiring an established practice. Inheriting a loyal patient base means you're not starting from zero. These patients already trust the practice, know the staff, and are comfortable with the environment. Their dental care routines are established, and they're likely to continue visiting regularly, providing you with a steady stream of income. This continuity is something a startup cannot offer. Building trust takes time, and even the most skilled marketing efforts can't guarantee patients' loyalty in the early days. Moreover, the practice you've acquired already has a reputation in the community. The name is recognized, the brand is known, and the practice has likely built a network of referrals. Instead of spending your early years trying to carve out a niche, you're stepping into a role that's already respected and established. Your efforts can focus on enhancing and expanding what's already there, rather than struggling to get noticed. This strong foundation extends beyond just the patient base. The community relationships, referral networks, and local partnerships that come with an established practice are invaluable. These are assets that can take years to build from scratch, but with an acquisition, they're handed to you from the start. Operational efficiency, stepping into a well-oiled machine. Walking into an established practice, you're greeted by the hum of efficiency. The staff know their roles, the scheduling system runs smoothly, and the day-to-day operations flow seamlessly. This is the reality of acquiring a practice with established systems and processes. Everything is already in place, allowing you to focus on what you do best, providing excellent dental care. The beauty of an existing practice lies in its operational efficiency. These systems have been tried and tested over years, refined through experience, and honed to maximize productivity. Whether it's the patient scheduling software, the billing processes, or the workflow between the front desk and the treatment rooms, these systems are already optimized. You're not starting from scratch, experimenting with what works and what doesn't. Instead, you're stepping into a well-oiled machine where every piece has its place. An established team is another critical asset. The staff you inherit knows the patients, understands the practice's culture, and is familiar with day-to-day routines. This continuity can't be overstated. It not only makes the transition smoother for patients, but also for you as the new owner. The time and effort required to train a new team are saved, and you can focus on integrating into the practice rather than building it up from the ground. This operational stability extends to the business side of the practice as well. Financial systems, supplier relationships, and regulatory compliance are all established. The practice's proven business model means you're not guessing about what will work, you already know. This allows you to hit the ground running, maintaining and even improving profitability from the outset. Lower risks and higher success rates, a path paved with certainty. The numbers tell a compelling story. Acquiring an existing practice is much more dependable than starting one from scratch. The financial predictability, established patient base, and operational efficiencies all contribute to a lower risk profile. But beyond the numbers, there's a practical reality that makes acquisitions the safer bet for most dentists. With a startup, everything is uncertain. Will patients come? Will revenue meet expectations? Will the practice turn a profit before the financial strain becomes too great? These are questions that haunt every new practice owner. In contrast, an acquisition comes with answers. The practice's financial history is documented, its patient base is real, and its profitability is proven. You're not hoping for success, you're stepping into it. This predictability is a significant factor in why acquisitions have higher success rates than startups. The known quantity of an existing practice reduces the risks associated with ownership, providing a more secure path to success. You're not just buying a practice, you're buying peace of mind. Moreover, an existing practice comes with a proven demand in the market. The patients are already there, seeking the services you'll provide. The location has been tested and proven viable. This eliminates the risk of opening a practice in an area with insufficient demand, a common pitfall for startups. You know the market, and the market knows the practice. The emotional and psychological benefits, peace of mind in ownership. Beyond the financial and operational advantages, acquiring an existing practice offers emotional and psychological benefits that are often overlooked. The stress of starting a new practice can be overwhelming. Nights spent worrying about cash flow, days spent scrambling for patients, and the constant pressure of building something from nothing. An acquisition, on the other hand, provides a sense of security that allows you to focus on what truly matters: patient care and professional growth. Knowing that you're stepping into a successful, established practice brings peace of mind. You're not just hoping it will work out. You have the confidence that it already has. This psychological security is invaluable, allowing you to approach ownership with a calm, focused mind. The transition into ownership becomes less about survival and more about thriving. This sense of stability also extends to your personal life. The financial predictability of an acquisition allows for better work-life balance, reducing the stress that often comes with the uncertainty of a startup. You can invest your energy into growing the practice, pursuing new opportunities, and enhancing patient care, rather than being consumed with the pressures of getting a new business off the ground. The challenges of startups, why the grass isn't always greener. While the idea of starting a practice from scratch may seem appealing, it's important to understand the significant challenges and risks involved. The high initial cost, slow patient growth, and high failure rates often associated with startups are often underestimated by those caught up in the excitement of building something new. Starting a practice requires a significant financial investment. The cost of securing office space, purchasing equipment, hiring staff, and marketing the practice can be overwhelming. These expenses add up quickly, and without an established patient base, the financial burden can become a heavy weight on your shoulders. Many new practices operate at a loss for their first few years, putting strain on both your finances and your mental health. The process of building a patient base from scratch is another challenge that can't be ignored. Even with the best marketing efforts, attracting and retaining patients takes time. The slow growth in patient numbers can be frustrating and financially draining, especially when compared to the immediate patient flow you inherit with an acquisition. Finally, it's important to acknowledge the high failure rates of startups. The statistics are sobering. Many new practices struggle to survive in the first few years. The financial risks, coupled with the challenges of attracting patients and building a reputation, makes startups a risky venture for most dentists. It's a path fraught with uncertainty, and for many, the rewards simply don't outweigh the risks. Embracing the practical path, the case for acquisitions. As you weigh your options, the practical advantages of acquiring a practice become increasingly clear. The immediate cash flow, established patient base, operational efficiency, and lower risk make acquisitions an attractive and often superior choice for dentists looking to transition into ownership. Acquiring a practice allows you to step into a role that's already been defined, with systems in place, patients to treat, and income to earn. It's a path that offers both financial and psychological security, reducing the stress and uncertainty that comes from starting from scratch. You're not just buying a business, you're buying a foundation on which to build your future. The decision between starting a practice and acquiring one is deeply personal, but for most dentists, the benefits of acquisition far outweigh the allure of a startup. It's a choice that offers a smoother transition, a faster path to profitability, and a more secure future. As you consider your options, remember that ownership is not just about where you start, it's about where you go. With an acquisition, the possibilities are endless. The journey to practice ownership is one of the most significant in your career. Make it a journey paved with certainty, stability, and success. The modern dental industry, trends and insights. In recent years, the dental industry has witnessed a significant shift with the rise of dental service organizations, or DSOs, such as Aspen Dental, Heartland Dental, and Pacific Dental Services. These large corporate entities have been rapidly expanding by acquiring independent dental practices and integrating them into their networks. DSOs offer a range of support services, from administrative and marketing assistance to human resources and billing, allowing dentists to focus more on clinical work while the business side of the practice is managed by the organization. The DSO model, efficiency at a cost. The DSO model is particularly appealing to new dentists and those who prefer to avoid the complexities of running a business. Working for a DSO can provide a stable income, access to advanced technology, and opportunities for mentorship and professional development. However, this model often comes at the cost of the professional autonomy that many dentists envisioned when they chose this career path. In a DSO, dentists typically have less control over their schedules, treatment plans, and even the choice of materials and equipment. The emphasis on efficiency and profitability can sometimes lead to a more standardized and one-size-fits-all approach to patient care, where individual patient needs may be secondary to meeting organizational targets. For many dentists, this lack of freedom and flexibility is a significant drawback, as it limits their ability to practice dentistry in a way that they see fit. The growth of smaller DSOs, consolidation, and exit strategies. Beyond the large, well-known DSOs, there is a growing trend of smaller DSOs emerging with a specific business strategy, acquiring multiple practices, packaging them together, and then eventually selling them to larger corporate entities or private equity firms. These smaller DSOs are rapidly buying up independent practices, consolidating them under a unified brand or management system, and aiming to increase their value through economies of scale before cashing out. For practice owners considering selling, these smaller DSOs can offer attractive buyout packages and the promise of a quick and profitable exit. However, for dentists who remain on the practice after the sale, the experience can be mixed. While some enjoy the reduced administrative burden and increased resources, others find the transition challenging, particularly if the new ownership imposes significant changes on how the practice is run. The impact on patient trust and continuity of care. One of the most significant consequences of the DSO model, particularly in larger organizations, is the disruption of patient trust and continuity of care. In many DSO-run practices, patients may not see the same dentist or staff members consistently. High turnover rates and the frequent rotation of dentists within the organization can lead to a lack of familiarity and comfort, making it difficult for patients to build a trusting relationship with their care providers. Patients who feel like they are being treated as just another number are less likely to trust the treatment recommendations they receive, which can result in hesitation to proceed with necessary procedures. This undermines one of the most crucial aspects of successful dental care, the relationship between the dentist and the patient. In contrast to the DSO model, owning your own practice offers a unique opportunity to set yourself apart. As an independent practice owner, you have the freedom to build long-term relationships with your patients, providing them with personalized care that meets their individual needs. When patients see the same dentist and staff for year after year, they develop a sense of trust and loyalty that is difficult to achieve in a corporate setting. This continuity of care allows you to understand your patient's histories, preferences, and concerns deeply, enabling you to tailor treatment plans that they are more likely to accept and follow through with. Patients who trust their dentist are not only more likely to agree to treatment recommendations, but are also more willing to invest in higher quality care, which can lead to increased practice revenue and patient satisfaction. Moreover, as an independent owner, you have complete control over the clinical decisions of your practice. You can choose the materials, technologies, and treatment protocols that align your professional judgment and the specific needs of your patient population. This autonomy allows you to practice dentistry in a way that is both personally fulfilling and professionally rewarding, free from all the constraints of corporate oversight. DSOs should be afraid of independent dentists. In an industry increasingly dominated by DSOs, owning your own practice is not just a viable option, it's a significant competitive advantage that should make DSOs nervous. Independent practices often attract patients who value a personalized approach to care and seek long-term relationship with a trusted healthcare provider. By emphasizing continuity, trust, and individualized care, you can clearly differentiate your practice from the more impersonal, profit-driven model that many DSOs represent. While DSOs offer certain benefits, particularly for those looking for a structured environment and support in the early stages of their career, they often come with limitations that can constrain a dentist's professional growth and patient relationships. For those who value autonomy, patient trust, and the ability to build a practice that reflects their own values and vision, independent practice ownership is not just an attractive path, it's a threat to the DSO model. By investing in your own practice, you are not only securing your financial future, but also positioning yourself as a trusted long-term partner in your patient's oral health, setting yourself apart in an increasingly corporatized industry. DSOs should be concerned because independent dentists are proving that personalized care and professional autonomy are what patients and practitioners truly desire. Finding the right dental practice, a strategic guide. So you've made the decision to purchase a dental practice, a pivotal step towards achieving your professional goals and financial independence. But now comes the critical question. How do you find the right practice? The process of locating and acquiring a dental practice requires careful planning, strategic thinking, and a willingness to explore all available options. In this chapter, we'll guide you through the key steps and considerations involved in finding the ideal practice that aligns with your vision and aspirations. The first step, and perhaps the most critical step in finding a dental practice, is selecting the right location. Your choice of location will significantly impact the success of your practice, influencing everything from patient demographics and competition levels to overhead costs and potential for growth. The more flexible you are with your location, the easier it will be to find a practice that meets your criteria. Rural versus urban, a tale of two markets. One of the primary decisions you'll need to make is whether to focus your search on a rural or urban area. Both settings offer distinct advantages and challenges, and understanding these differences will help you make an informed decision. Practices located in cities and metropolitan areas tend to be more expensive and competitive. In urban settings, you'll find a higher concentration of dental practices, which means more competition for patients. The demand for dental services is often high, but so are the costs of running a practice. Rent, salaries, and other overhead expenses can be significantly higher in urban areas, which may cut into your profitability. However, urban practices often benefit from a larger and more diverse patient base, access to advanced technology, and opportunities for professional networking and continuing education. If you're looking for a fast-paced environment with the potential for significant growth, an urban location might be the right choice, provided you're prepared for the challenges that come with it. On the other hand, rural practices typically offer lower operating costs and less competition. Real estate is more affordable and overhead expenses are generally lower, allowing you to keep more of your revenue. In rural areas, patients often have fewer options for dental care, which can lead to a more loyal patient base and a stronger sense of community. However, rural practices may face challenges such as a smaller patient pool, limited access to specialists for referrals, and potential difficulties in attracting and retaining staff. If you're open to practicing in a rural area, you may find it easier to purchase a practice with less competition and at a lower price point. Additionally, rural practices can offer a slower pace of life and the opportunity to build deep and lasting relationships with your patients. Exploring your options for finding a practice. Once you've determined the ideal location for your practice, the next step is to explore the various avenues for finding a practice to purchase. While some dentists are fortunate enough to have a clear path to ownership, such as purchasing a practice from a parent or transitioning from an associateship, most will need to cast a wider net. Here are some of the most effective strategies for finding the right practice. Option number 1, existing relationships, associates, and family transitions. For some dentists, the path to ownership may seem straightforward, especially if they are already in an associateship with the option to purchase the practice or if they have a family member who is retiring. These scenarios can provide a smooth transition into ownership as the buyer is already familiar with the practice, the patients, and the staff. However, it's important to approach these transitions with caution. Family transitions and associate purchases don't always go as planned. Emotions can complicate negotiations, and there may be a difference in expectations regarding the value of the practice, the timing of the sale, or the future role of the selling dentist. Even when the relationship is strong, it's crucial to conduct thorough due diligence and seek professional advice to ensure the transition is fair and successful for both parties. Option number 2, practice brokers, professional guidance with a price. Dental practice brokers specialize in helping dentists buy and sell practices. Working with a broker can be highly advantageous as they offer access to a wider range of practices and can provide valuable insights into the market. Brokers can assist with evaluating the practice, negotiating the sale, and navigating the legal and financial aspects of the transaction. When navigating the process of purchasing a dental practice, it's essential to understand the role of the broker and the potential implications of their involvement. Brokers, who are often instrumental in facilitating the sale of the practice, typically charge a commission that is usually around 8 to 12% of the purchase price. For a practice valued at $1 million, this commission can amount to a substantial $100,000. This significant payout gives brokers a strong financial incentive to ensure that the sale goes through, which can sometimes lead to situations where the broker's interests are not entirely aligned with those of the buyer. Because the broker's commission is directly tied to the sale price, they have a vested interest in closing the deal at the highest possible price. Their primary responsibility is to the seller, who is ultimately paying their fee, and their objective is to secure the most favorable terms for the seller of the practice, often emphasizing the practice's strengths while downplaying any potential drawbacks. This means that the broker may not always be fully transparent about issues such as a declining patient base, outdated equipment, or operational inefficiencies, which could significantly impact the practice's long-term viability. Given this dynamic, it's crucial for prospective buyers to recognize that while brokers can provide valuable access to their available practices, they are not impartial advisors. Their motivation to close the deal can sometimes lead to pressure on buyers to make decisions quickly or to overlook critical aspects of the practice's operations or financial health. This is why having your own team of professionals is essential to ensure that your interests are protected and that you're making an informed, sound investment. One of the most effective ways to protect your interests when buying a dental practice is to enlist an advisor who is on your side, ideally a fellow dentist who has successfully navigated the process themselves. Seek out an advisor dedicated exclusively to your success. Someone who will critically assess potential practices and meticulously scrutinize every aspect of the deal. Having such an ally can significantly tip the scales in your favor, providing impartial guidance and challenging any elements of the transaction that might not align with your best interests. While brokers play a key role in the dental practice acquisition process, their primary allegiance to the seller and their significant financial incentive to close the deal may mean that they may not always act in the best interest of the buyer. Enlisting an advisor who is committed to your success can ensure that your interests are fully protected, allowing you to enter into practice ownership with confidence, knowing that you've made a well-considered decision that sets you up for long-term success. Option number 3, dental supply representatives, an unexpected resource. Dental supply representatives who specialize in selling products and equipment to dental practices are often deeply embedded within the dental community. Their roles require them to maintain close and ongoing relationships with dentists and practice owners, making them privy to information that may not be widely known. Because these reps frequently visit practices, discuss business needs, and provide solutions for daily operations, they often gain insight into the internal workings of the practices they serve. This unique position allows them to be among the first to know when a practice owner is considering selling, retiring, or transitioning out of their practice. For a dentist in the market to purchase a practice, establishing a relationship with a dental supply representative can be an invaluable strategy. By letting a rep know that you are actively looking to buy, you position yourself to hear about opportunities that may not be publicly advertised. Dental supply reps often have the inside track on practices that are about to hit the market, sometimes even before the owner has formally listed them for sale. This early access can give you a significant advantage, allowing you to explore potential acquisitions before they become competitive. Moreover, dental supply reps often know the nuances of each practice they service. They may be aware of the practice's financial health, the satisfaction level of the staff, and the patient demographics, all critical factors when evaluating a potential purchase. While they aren't professional brokers and won't handle the transaction side of a sale, their knowledge can guide you in the right direction and potentially connect you with sellers directly. This personal connection can sometimes lead to a more favorable negotiation, as both parties might feel more comfortable dealing with someone they know through a trusted intermediary. This approach can be particularly advantageous if you have specific criteria in mind, such as a particular geographic area or specialty. For instance, if you are interested in buying a practice in a rural area or focusing on a specialty like orthodontics or pediatric dentistry, a dental supply rep who knows the landscape can alert you to opportunities that precisely match your needs. Since many dentists prefer to sell to someone within their professional network, Having a rep vouch for you can ensure your credibility with the seller, potentially smoothing the negotiation process. In addition, because dental supply reps are constantly interacting with a broad spectrum of practices, they can offer insights into market trends and help you identify which types of practices are thriving in specific areas. This broader market perspective can be valuable as you assess different opportunities and decide where to focus your efforts. While dental supply representatives are not substitutes for professional brokers, lawyers, or accountants, their well-connected position and detailed knowledge of the dental industry make them a valuable resource in your search for the right practice. By leveraging their insights and connections, you can gain access to opportunities that might otherwise remain under the radar, giving you a competitive edge in the often challenging market of dental practice acquisitions. Option number 4, networking with other dentists. Never underestimate the power of networking in the dental industry. Building connections with other dentists, whether through professional associations, study clubs, or even informal social gatherings, can open doors to opportunities that may not be available through traditional channels. Networking is one of the most effective ways to discover potential practice sales, as many practice transitions happen quietly and are never formally listed on the open market. Dentists often prefer to sell their practices to someone they know or to a buyer who comes highly recommended by a trusted colleague. This preference is rooted in the desire to ensure that the practice they've built is passed on to a successor who shares similar values, work ethic, and a commitment to patient care. Selling to a known entity provides the seller with a peace of mind knowing that their patient, staff, and legacy will be in good hands. As a result, many practice sales occur through word of mouth, facilitated by personal relationships and professional connections. By actively participating in dental communities, you position yourself to be at the forefront of these conversations. Joining professional associations, attending conferences, and becoming involved in study clubs not only keeps you informed about the latest trends and developments in dentistry, but also allow you to build meaningful relationships with peers. These relationships can be invaluable when you're in the market to buy a practice. A casual conversation at a study club or meeting might lead to a tip about a practice owner who is considering retirement or a colleague who knows of a great opportunity in your desired location. Networking also provides you with access to the collective wisdom of experienced practitioners. Many dentists who have gone through the process of buying or selling a practice are eager to share their experiences, offering advice and insights that can help you navigate your own journey. These conversations can provide you with practical knowledge about the challenges and opportunities that come with ownership, from evaluating a practice's financial health to negotiating the terms of a sale. Learning from the success and mistakes of others can help you make more informed decisions and avoid common pitfalls. Furthermore, networking can lead to mentorship opportunities where more experienced dentists can guide you through the process of practice acquisition. A mentor who has successfully transitioned into practice ownership can provide personalized advice, helping you refine your strategy, identify the right opportunities, and negotiate favorable terms. The support and guidance of a mentor can be especially valuable if you're navigating the complexities of buying a practice for the first time. Beyond direct opportunities, networking helps you build a reputation within the dental community. Being known as a professional who is engaged, knowledgeable, and serious about practice ownership can enhance your credibility and make you a more attractive buyer. When practice owners or brokers know you as someone who is well connected and respected in the community, they may be more inclined to approach you with opportunities or give you priority in competitive situations. Participating in dental organizations and local dental societies can also put you in contact with other key players in the industry, such as financial advisors, accountants, and lawyers who specialize in dental practice transitions. These professionals often have insights into which practices are coming up for sale and can provide you with valuable introductions. In summary, the power of networking in the dental industry cannot be overstated. By cultivating relationships within the community, you significantly increase your chances of discovering practice opportunities before they reach the broader market. Additionally, networking provides access to a wealth of knowledge and experience from colleagues who have successfully navigated the practice acquisition process. Engaging in these professional networks not only enhances your chances of finding the right practice, but also positions you for long-term success as a practice owner. Option 5, online forums and marketplaces. There are numerous online platforms dedicated to buying and selling dental practices, offering a convenient way to explore a wide range of options. These online marketplaces can be useful if you're willing to relocate, as they broaden your search beyond your immediate geographical area, potentially increasing your chances of finding a practice that meets your location criteria. However, if you focused on a specific location, especially in a less populated city or highly competitive area, the available options online may be more limited. It's important to approach these listings with a healthy dose of due diligence. While online marketplaces can offer a broad selection, not all listings are created equal. Some may present an appealing snapshot of a practice, but lack full transparency about its financial health, operational challenges, or long-term viability. For example, a practice might boast impressive revenue figures, but could be facing underlying issues such as declining patient numbers, outdated equipment, or an unfavorable lease agreement that aren't immediately apparent in the listing. To avoid potential pitfalls, it's crucial to conduct thorough due diligence on any practice that catches your eye. This includes reviewing financial statements, understanding the practice patient base, assessing the local competition, and considering the demographic trends in the area. Additionally, seeking professional advice from a qualified advisor or consultant is essential before making any commitments. They can help you critically evaluate the practice's true value, identify any red flags, and ensure that you're making a well-informed decision. While finding the perfect practice online is possible, particularly if you're open to moving, it's equally important to recognize the challenges of finding a great match within a specific geographic area. Patience, due diligence, and professional guidance are keys to navigating the complexity of purchasing a dental practice, whether online or offline. Option 6, direct mail. If you have a specific location in mind but haven't found the right practice through traditional channels like brokers, online listings, or word of mouth, it might be time to think outside the box. One effective yet often overlooked strategy is to launch a direct mail campaign. This targeted approach involves sending personalized letters or postcards directly to a dental practice owners in your area, expressing your interest in purchasing their practice. While this method does require an investment of time and effort, it can yield surprisingly fruitful results. Many practice owners are in a transitional phase of their careers. Some may be approaching retirement, while others might be contemplating a career change or a move to a different location. However, not all of these owners have taken the formal steps to list their practices for sale. They might be on the fence about selling or unsure of how to begin the process. A direct mail campaign can gently nudge these owners into considering a sale, especially if your letter resonates with their current situation. Crafting a compelling letter is critical to the success of this approach. Your letter should be well written, professional, and most importantly, personalized. Generic or impersonal messages are likely to be dismissed, but a thoughtful, tailored letter can capture the attention of the recipient. Start by introducing yourself and briefly outlining your qualifications and experience in the dental field. Explain why you are interested in buying their specific location and how you envision continually and possibly enhancing the practice they've built. Demonstrating a genuine interest in their practice and an understanding of its value can make your proposal more appealing. It's also important to express your willingness to work with the current owner to ensure a smooth transition. This might include offering to keep existing staff on board, maintaining the practice's culture and values, or even allowing the owner to stay involved in some capacity during the transition period. By addressing potential concerns and showing respect for the legacy they've created, you can build trust and make the idea of selling to you more attractive. In addition to the content of the letter, the presentation matters. A well-designed, professional-looking letterhead or postcard can convey seriousness and attention to detail. You might also consider including your contact information in a way that encourages easy follow-up, such as a business card or a tear-off section with your phone number and email address. The response rate to direct mail campaigns can vary, but the effort can be well worth it when it leads to a private sale. Some practice owners might not have even considered selling until your letter arrived. And for those who are already contemplating it, your outreach could be the motivation they need to move forward. These private sales often bypass the competitive bidding process that comes with a publicly listed practice, giving you a unique opportunity to negotiate directly with the owner and potentially secure better terms. Moreover, a direct mail campaign allows you to target specific areas or types of practices that align with your goals. Whether you're looking for a practice in a rural town, a growing suburb, or a particular specialty, this method gives you control over who receives your offer. You can also tailor your message to address the unique aspects of the community or type of practice you're interested in, making your proposal even more compelling. Another benefit of this approach is that it shows initiative and proactivity, qualities that are often valued by sellers. A practice owner who receives a thoughtful, unsolicited offer may appreciate the fact that you took the time to reach out personally rather than relying solely on traditional methods. This can set you apart from other potential buyers who might only be waiting for listings to appear on the market. However, it's important to be patient and persistent with this approach. Not every letter will result in a response, and it may take multiple rounds of outreach before you connect with the right seller. But when you do, the results can be highly rewarding, leading to an acquisition of a practice that perfectly matches your professional aspirations. Launching a direct mail campaign can be an effective way to find a dental practice in your desired location, particularly when other methods have not yielded the right opportunity. By crafting a personalized, compelling letter that demonstrates your genuine interest and qualifications, you can reach practice owners who might not have otherwise considered selling. This proactive strategy can open the door to private sales, providing you with the opportunity to negotiate directly with the seller and secure a practice that aligns with your vision for the future. Taking the next step. Finding the right dental practice to purchase is a strategic process that requires careful consideration of location, market conditions, and available resources. Whether you choose to work with a broker, tap into your network, or take a more proactive approach, the key is to remain patient and persistent. The right practice is out there, and with the right strategy, you can find a practice that aligns with your professional goals and sets you on the path to a successful and fulfilling career in dental practice ownership. Choosing the best practice size. When it comes to buying a dental practice, size matters, both in terms of your immediate financial goals and your long-term vision. The size of the practice you choose will significantly impact everything from cash flow and growth potential to the level of management required for the opportunities for expansion. Understanding the advantages and challenges of small, medium, and large practices can help you make the right decision based upon your personal goals and preferences. Small practices, room for growth, and equity building. Small practices, typically generating yearly revenue below $600,000, are often the most affordable entry point for aspiring practice owners. The lower cost of acquisition makes these practices attractive, particularly for those who are focused on long-term growth and equity building rather than immediately high income. The biggest advantage of purchasing a small practice lies in the significant room for growth. Often, these practices are operating below their full potential due to factors like the previous owner nearing retirement, offering limited services, or utilizing outdated marketing strategies. This can present an opportunity to make strategic investments and turn the practice into a thriving business. For instance, a practice generating $500,000 annually might initially offer a modest take-home income, perhaps between $150,000 to $200,000 a year, after accounting for overhead. However, with smart investments in new technology, expanding service offerings, and enhancing marketing efforts, there is often potential to grow the practice significantly. If your goal is to build equity and eventually sell the practice at a profit, a small practice can be an excellent starting point. By increasing revenue to $1 million or more, you could potentially sell the practice for 2 to 3 times your initial investment, making it a lucrative long-term strategy. However, it's crucial to approach smaller practices with a critical eye, particularly when evaluating why production levels are low. One possible reason for low production could be that the previous dentist intentionally slowed down. This might be due to a desire for a less stressful lifestyle, preparation for retirement, or simply to enjoy a more relaxed work pace. While this slowdown could explain the current production levels, it doesn't necessarily indicate an underlying business problem. Nevertheless, it's important to discern whether this reduction in production was a temporary and intentional choice or if it signals more significant long-term issues. Another vital aspect to consider is the level of competition in the area. In some cases, a practice may be located in a region that is oversaturated with dental offices. This saturation can lead to lower production because it becomes challenging to attract and retain patients when so many options are available nearby. Understanding the local market dynamics is crucial in determining whether there's room for growth or if the market is too crowded to support significant expansion. The practice's physical location itself can also be a critical factor to its success. A poorly chosen location, whether it's difficult to access, lacks visibility, or is situated in an area with low foot traffic, can significantly hinder the practice's ability to draw in new patients. If the location is a major contributing factor to the practice's low production, improving the business might require either a costly relocation or an intensive local marketing effort to overcome these geographical challenges. Low production could be symptomatic of a deeper, less visible issue within the practice. These could include operational inefficiencies or poor patient retention due to subpar service or outdated practices. A comprehensive assessment of the practice's financial health, patient demographics, and operational processes is essential to ensure that you're not stepping into a business with hidden problems that could be difficult or costly to resolve. In conclusion, while small practices offer substantial room for growth and the potential to build equity, it's essential to approach these opportunities with a thorough understanding of the reasons behind their current production levels. Careful due diligence, including a critical evaluation of the practice's market position, location, and operational health, is critical to making a well-informed decision that aligns with your long-term goals. Medium practices, a balance of income and growth potential. Medium-sized practices with annual revenues between $600,000 and $1.2 million often represent the best balance for a dentist who wants to start out making good money while still having room for growth. These practices are usually well established with a steady patient base, but they may still have opportunities for expansion, whether through adding new services, improving efficiency, or increasing patient volume. In a medium-sized practice generating $900,000 annually, the expected take-home income might range from about $250,000 a year to $400,000 a year, depending on overhead and other factors. This size of practice provides a solid income right from the start, while also offering the potential to increase revenue through targeted efforts. The management demands of a medium-sized practice are typically manageable for a single dentist owner, making it a great option for those who want to focus on patient care without the complexities of running a large organization. Large practices, immediate cash flow, and complex management. Large practices with annual revenues of $1.2 million or more are ideal for those who want to maximize their income as soon as possible and are comfortable with the complexities of managing a bigger operation. These practices often have established systems in place, a larger patient base, and sometimes even a team of associates. If the practice already has an associate or if the seller is willing to stay on for a while, the cash flow can be exceptional from day one. For example, a large practice generating $1.5 million annually might provide a take-home income of $500,000 or more, depending on how many associates are employed and how the revenue is split. The immediate financial benefits are clear, but the challenges are also greater. Managing a large practice requires strong business skills, the ability to lead and manage a larger team, and a keen understanding of practice operations. If you enjoy the business side of dentistry and are interested in developing these skills, a large practice can be incredibly rewarding, both financially and professionally. However, one of the challenges with large practices is the potential difficulty in achieving further growth. These practices are often already optimized for efficiency and patient volume, so finding new avenues for expansion can be more challenging compared to smaller practices. That said, if you're skilled in business development and enjoy managing complex operations, a large practice can still offer growth opportunities, especially if you're interested in expanding into multiple locations or offering specialized services. Choosing the right size for your goals. Ultimately, the best practice size for you depends on your personal and financial goals. If your focus is on growing equity and building a practice from the ground up, a small practice offers the most room for growth and the potential for a significant return on investment when you sell. If you're looking for a balance of good income and growth potential, a medium-sized practice provides a solid starting point with manageable demands. And if your goal is to maximize income immediately, then you're ready to take on the complexity of managing a large operation. A large practice can offer substantial financial rewards. It's important to consider not just where you are now, but where you want to be in the future. Whether you plan to own one practice for your entire career or buy, grow, and sell multiple practices, understanding the advantages and challenges of different practice sizes will help you make informed decisions that align with your goals. No matter what the size practice you choose, strategic planning and effective management will be key to your success. Preparations for future practice owners. Stepping into dental practice ownership is a significant milestone in your career, one that requires not only financial readiness, but also clinical and operational preparedness. Before making the leap, it's crucial to ensure that you are equipped to manage the demands of running a practice, both in terms of your clinical capabilities and your understanding of the business aspects of dentistry. This chapter will guide you through the key areas you need to focus on and lay the groundwork for successful practice ownership. Clinical readiness, producing at the pace of ownership. One of the most important aspects of preparing for practice ownership is ensuring that you can comfortably produce at a level that meets the demands of the practice you intend to buy. For an average-sized practice, this typically means being able to generate between $5,000 and $6,000 in production per day, while also managing the additional responsibilities of conducting hygiene checks and overseeing the overall patient flow. The transition from associate to owner brings with it a significant increase in responsibility. As an owner, you won't just be focusing on your own patients, you'll also need to maintain the efficiency and profitability of the entire practice. This requires the ability to work quickly and efficiently without sacrificing the quality of care. Developing this speed and efficiency is something that should be honed during your time as an associate. Take full advantage of your current position to practice working at a pace that will be sustainable in a busy practice. The ability to balance high production with the need to oversee hygiene and other aspects of patient care is critical to the financial success of your future practice. In addition to clinical speed, it's also important to develop your diagnostic and treatment planning skills. Being able to quickly assess a patient's need and confidently propose treatment plans is key to maintaining production levels. Use your time as an associate to practice these skills in a variety of scenarios, from routine checkups to more complex cases. The more comfortable you become with making quick, accurate decisions, the better prepared you'll be to handle the demands of ownership. Dental practice operational knowledge. While clinical readiness is essential, owning a practice requires a deep understanding of the operational side of dentistry as well. During your time as an associate, it's beneficial to immerse yourself in the day-to-day operations of the practice. Take the opportunity to learn about the sterilization protocols, ordering supplies, managing the front desk, handling insurance claims, and understanding the scheduling system. Although when you purchase a strong, well-established practice, many of these operational systems will already be in place. Having a solid understanding of how they work will make you a more effective leader. Understanding the logistics of sterilization, for example, ensures that you can maintain high standards of patient safety and efficiency. Knowing how supplies are ordered and managed allows you to keep overhead costs in check. Familiarity with front desk operations and insurance processing helps you appreciate the challenges your administrative team faces and positions you to support them effectively. Moreover, this operational knowledge will enable you to identify any potential areas for improvement once you take ownership. Even if the practice you purchase is running smoothly, there may be opportunities to streamline processes, reduce costs, or enhance patient care. By understanding the ins and outs of daily operations, you'll be better equipped to make informed decisions that benefit both your team and your patients. Building a strong financial foundation. Financial readiness is a critical component of preparing for practice ownership. Banks and lenders will scrutinize your financial health to ensure that you're a reliable candidate for a practice loan. One of the key indicators they look for is your ability to save money and manage your finances responsibly. It's important to have a substantial amount of money saved up before you approach a bank for a loan. Typically, banks require you to have between $50,000 and $75,000 in cash savings to demonstrate that you are good at managing your finances and that you have an emergency fund in place. This savings act as a buffer, showing the bank that you are capable of handling unexpected expenses and financial fluctuations that may arise during the initial stages of practice ownership. While it might be tempting to use any extra money you have to pay down your student loans, it's critical to resist this urge. Instead, focus on building your cash reserves. Once you own a successful practice, paying off your student loans will become much easier, as your income will likely increase significantly. For now, the best financial strategy is to prioritize creating an emergency fund that will provide you with peace of mind and financial security during the transition to ownership. Having a well-stocked emergency fund not only improves your chances of securing a loan, but also sets you up for long-term success. Owning a practice comes with its share of unexpected expenses, whether it's equipment repairs, staffing changes, or unforeseen slow periods. With a strong financial cushion, you'll be better positioned to handle these challenges without compromising the stability of your practice. As you prepare for practice ownership, one of the most valuable skills you can develop is the ability to analyze the financial and operational data generated by practice management software. These systems, commonly used in dental practice, track a wide range of metrics and are critical to understanding the health and performance of the practice. Getting comfortable with exporting and interpreting reports from this software will not only give you a clearer picture of what a successful practice looks like, but also prepare you for the detailed financial scrutiny that comes with applying for a loan. Start by familiarizing yourself with the types of reports that practice management software typically generates. Key reports include daily production numbers, production by procedure, typically grouped by ADA codes, profit and loss statements, accounts receivable, patient retention rates, and other useful reports. These reports offer insights into the practice's financial health, efficiency, and patient's flow. By regularly exporting and reviewing these reports in your current associate position, you'll begin to understand the benchmarks for a well-run practice. For example, you should become accustomed to what a healthy daily production number looks like, how to spot trends in patient retention, and what the typical ratio of new to returning patients might be. Becoming proficient in generating and interpreting these reports is also crucial when you're in the process of purchasing a practice. Banks and lenders will often request to see specific reports, such as daily production numbers, to assess the practice's profitability and potential for continued success under your ownership. These reports help the bank evaluate whether the practice is going to generate enough revenue to cover the loan repayments and whether it's a sound financial investment. By knowing how to export these numbers and understanding the numbers they contain, you'll be able to provide the lender with the information they need promptly and accurately, which can expedite the loan approval process. Furthermore, having this expertise allows you to verify the data provided by the seller during the due diligence phase. You'll be able to analyze the practice's historical performance, identify any red flags, and make informed decisions about whether the asking price aligns with the practice's financial realities. This level of financial literacy and attention to detail not only strengthens your position when negotiating the purchase, but also gives you the confidence that you're making a sound investment. Getting comfortable with exporting and analyzing reports from practice management software is an essential part of preparing for ownership. This practice will help you understand the financial metrics that drive a successful dental practice and equip you to meet the demands of lenders during the loan application process. It also empowers you to make informed decisions through the buying process, ensuring that you're acquiring a practice that meets your financial goals and sets you up for long-term success. Create a vision and strategic plan for your practice. Before purchasing a dental practice, it's crucial to develop a clear and comprehensive vision for what you want to achieve as a practice owner. This vision serves as the foundation for your future success and provides direction for all aspects of your practice management. Start by considering what kind of patient experience you want to create. Think about how you want your patients to feel when they walk through the door. Are you aiming for a welcoming, family-oriented atmosphere, or do you want to offer something cutting-edge, high-tech environment? Your approach to patient care, the ambiance of your practice, and the relationships you build with your patients will all play critical roles in shaping your practice's identity. Another essential aspect of your vision is determining how you plan to differentiate your practice from competitors. In a crowded market, standing out is key to attracting and retaining patients. What will make your practice unique? Perhaps you'll focus on adapting the latest technology, emphasizing a specific area of expertise, or building a strong presence in your community. Understanding what sets you apart will guide your marketing efforts and help you communicate your value to potential patients. Once you have a clear vision, the next step is to translate that vision into a strategic plan. This plan will serve as a roadmap, guiding your decisions as you take ownership of your practice. Start by setting a specific, measurable goals. These should include both short-term goals, such as increasing patient volume or introducing new services within the first 6 months, and long-term goals, such as expanding your practice or achieving a certain level of profitability over the next 5 years. Clear, quantifiable targets allow you to track your progress and adjust your strategies as needed. Marketing will be a crucial component of your strategic plan. Outline how you intend to attract new patients and retain existing ones. Consider the channels you'll use to reach your target audience, such as digital marketing, social media, community events, or referral programs. Identify the key messages you want to communicate and the unique value propositions that will set your practice apart. Your marketing plan should also include a budget and timeline, ensuring that your strategies are both realistic and actionable. Operational improvements are another important aspect of your strategical plan. Identify areas where you can enhance the efficiency of your practice, whether it's by optimizing the appointment scheduling process, reducing patient wait times, or streamlining billing and collections. Investing in technology such as practice management software or digital diagnostic tools can significantly improve your practice's workflow, boosting productivity and enhancing the patient experience. Financial targets are also a critical part of your strategic planning. Establish revenue and profit goals that align with your broader vision, and consider how you'll control overhead costs and plan for future investments in your practice. Having clear financial benchmarks will help you monitor your practice's performance and ensure that you're on track to achieve your long-term objectives. It's also wise to create a financial buffer or emergency fund to safeguard against unexpected expenses or downturns in business. A timeline is essential to ensure that your strategic plan is actionable. Break down your objectives into specific steps and assign deadlines to each task. For instance, if your plan is to introduce a new service, your timeline might include researching equipment, training staff, marketing the service, and launching it to patients. Having a timeline helps you keep you accountable and ensures that you're making steady progress towards your goals. It's important to remember that your strategic plan is not static. It should evolve as you grow into your role as a practice owner. Regularly revisiting your plan allows you to stay flexible and responsive to changes in the market or within your practice. It also provides an opportunity to celebrate the milestones you've achieved and set new goals as your practice develops. By developing a clear vision and creating a strategic plan, you lay the groundwork for a successful and fulfilling journey as a practice owner. Your vision defines what you want to achieve, while your strategic plan provides the steps to get there. Together, they serve as your guide, helping you make informed decisions that align with your goals, differentiate your practice, and ultimately lead to long-term success. As you move forward, stay focused on your vision, be disciplined about your execution, and remain open to learning and adapting along the way. With a solid strategy in place, you'll be well equipped to build a thriving dental practice that reflects your professional values and fulfills your aspirations. Setting yourself up for success. Preparing for practice ownership is a multifaceted process that requires a blend of clinical proficiency, operational knowledge, and financial discipline. By focusing on these areas during your time as an associate, you can build a strong foundation that will support your transition to ownership and set you up for long-term success. Ensure that you're comfortable producing at the pace required for a successful practice, and use your current role to hone your speed, efficiency, and decision-making skills. Immerse yourself in the operational side of the practice, learning as much as you can about day-to-day logistics that keep your practice running smoothly. Finally, prioritize financial preparedness by building a substantial emergency fund and demonstrating your ability to manage money responsibly. With these preparations in place, you'll be well equipped to navigate the challenges of practice ownership and take full advantage of the opportunities it offers. The groundwork you lay now will not only help you secure the practice of your dreams, but also ensure that you're ready to lead it to new heights of success. Part 2, Practice Acquisition. The steps to buying a practice. Purchasing a dental practice is a complex and multifaceted process that requires careful planning, thorough research, and strategic decision-making. Once you've found a practice that aligns with your goals and vision, the real work begins. This chapter provides an overview of the entire process of buying a dental practice, from the moment you identify a potential practice to the final steps of closing the sale and transitioning into ownership. It outlines the key stages, including initial communication with the seller, conducting a thorough walkthrough and equipment inspection, negotiating and finalizing the sale price through the letter of intent, or LOI, and moving through due diligence, financing, and legal considerations. Additionally, it discusses important aspects of the transition period, such as the seller's involvement post-sale, and conducts with the finalization of the asset purchase agreement, or APA, and the closing process. In the following chapters, each of these steps will be explored in greater detail, providing you with a comprehensive guide to navigating the complexities of practice acquisition and ensuring a successful transition into ownership. Initial communication with the seller. After identifying a practice you're interested in, the first step is to establish communication with the seller. This initial conversation is crucial as it sets the tone for the entire transaction. Approach the seller with professionalism and genuine interest. Express your enthusiasm for the opportunity and take the time to understand their motivation for selling. Are they retiring, relocating, or simply looking to reduce their workload? Understand the seller's reasoning can provide valuable insights into the practice's future potential. During these early discussions, request a walkthrough of the practice. This visit will allow you to get a first-hand look at the facility, the equipment, and the overall environment. Pay close attention to the condition of the equipment. Are the chairs, x-ray machines, and other tools well maintained and up to date? Or will you need to invest in upgrades? Take note of the office layout and how efficiently the space is utilized. A well-organized and functional practice can save you time and money in the long run. Additionally, review the practice's schedule during your visit. A full schedule is a positive indicator that the practice has a strong and steady patient base. Look for signs of consistent patient flow, including back-to-back appointments and a busy hygiene department. If possible, ask to see the schedule for the past several months to ensure that the practice has maintained this level of activity over time. It's also wise to do some background research on the seller. Talk to the other dentists in the area or dental supply representatives who may have interacted with the seller. They can provide valuable insights into the seller's reputation, business practices, and reasons for selling. This information can help you gauge the trustworthiness of the seller and the true value of the practice. Letter of Intent, LOI. The letter of intent represents a pivotal moment in the dental practice acquisition process, as it's the stage where the framework of the deal is established, including the crucial aspect of the sale price. After you've completed your initial assessments and are ready to proceed, the LOI serves as a formal declaration of your intent to purchase the practice. It's at this point that you and the seller will engage in negotiations to finalize the terms of the sale. Typically, the process begins with you, the buyer, presenting an initial offer. This offer will include your proposed purchase price along with other key terms of the deal. The seller will then review your proposal and may come back with a counteroffer. It's common for the LOI to undergo several revisions as both parties negotiate the price and agree on additional terms. This back and forth is a normal part of the process, as each side works to reach an agreement that is fair and mutually beneficial. However, it's important to approach these negotiations with a balanced perspective. While it's natural to want to secure the best possible deal, pushing too aggressively on price or demanding excessive concessions can risk alienating the seller. It's crucial to remember that the majority of the practice's value lies in goodwill, the reputation, the patient base, and the established operations that the seller has built over time. A contentious negotiation can strain the relationship with the seller, potentially jeopardizing the very goodwill you're paying for. This is particularly significant if the seller is expecting to stay on during the transition period to help maintain continuity. Maintaining a positive and respectful relationship with the seller throughout the negotiation process is essential. Sellers are often deeply invested in the practice they've built, both emotionally and professionally. By showing understanding and respect for their position, you increase the likelihood of a smooth and cooperative transition, which can be crucial to retaining staff and patients after the sale. In addition to the negotiated sale price, the LOI usually includes a requirement for the buyer to make a deposit or earnest money payment. This deposit serves as a tangible demonstration of your commitment to purchasing the practice. In return for this deposit, the seller agrees to take the practice off the market for a specific period, giving you exclusive rights to pursue the practice without pressure from competing offers. This exclusivity period allows you to conduct thorough due diligence and secure financing, knowing that the practice is not being shopped around to other potential buyers. The deposit amount is typically a small percentage of the overall purchase price and is held in escrow. It will usually be applied toward the final purchase price at closing, but it also serves as a form of security for the seller. If, after signing the LOI, you decide to back out of the deal without a valid reason, the seller is generally entitled to keep the deposit as a compensation for the time the practice was off the market. This arrangement ensures that the seller is not left at a disadvantage if the deal falls through after significant time and resources have been invested. It's also important to be mindful of the practical aspects of the negotiation process. Each time the LOI is revised, it may need to be reviewed by your lawyer, which can quickly escalate legal fees. While it's essential to ensure that the terms of the LOI are fair and protect your interests, it's equally important to avoid being bogged down in endless revisions that drive up cost and potentially create friction between you and the seller. Striking the right balance during LOI negotiations is key. You want to achieve a deal that reflects the true value of the practice and sets you up for success, but you also need to ensure that the relationship with the seller remains positive and professional. This is particularly important because the seller's cooperation during the transition period can be invaluable in helping you establish yourself as the new owner. Ultimately, the LOI is the foundation upon which the entire purchase is built. It's a crucial document that not only finalizes the sale, but also outlines the key terms and sets the tone for the remainder of the transaction. Getting it right involves more than just securing the best financial deal. It's about finding a fair and equitable arrangement that benefits both you and the seller, laying the groundwork for a successful and seamless transition into practice ownership. Due diligence and legal considerations. With the LOI in place, the next phase is due diligence, a critical step in which you thoroughly investigate the practice to verify its financial health, operational efficiency, and overall viability. This process typically takes several weeks and involves a comprehensive review of the practice's financial records, patients' data, contracts, and legal obligations. During due diligence, you want to examine the practice's income statements, profit and loss statements, and balance sheets from the past few years. Look for consistent revenue growth, stable expenses, and healthy profit margins. Pay attention to accounts receivable and the aging of those accounts. High levels of unpaid bills could indicate problems with collections. It's also important to review the patient records, focusing on retention rates, new patient flow, and the overall patient demographics. Ensure that the practice has a loyal and stable patient base that is likely to remain with the practice after the transition. High patient turnover or a decline in new patients could signal issues that need to be addressed. Legal considerations are another crucial aspect of due diligence. Reviewing all contracts related to the practice, including leases, vendor agreements, and employee contracts. Ensure that the terms of these negotiations are favorable and that there are no hidden liabilities or obligations. A lawyer who specializes in dental practice transitions can provide invaluable assistance during this phase, helping you identify potential legal risks and ensuring that the practice is in compliance with all the relevant laws and regulations. Financing the purchase. Securing financing is a critical step in the process of buying a dental practice. Most buyers will need to obtain a loan to cover the purchase price, and having a solid financial plan is essential to gaining approval from lenders. Your lender will likely require a detailed review of the practice's financial records, as well as your own financial history, credit score, and business plan. Prepare to present the lender with key documents, including the signed LOI, financial statements from the practice, and your personal financial records. Lenders may also ask to see specific reports, such as daily production numbers, to assess the practice's cash flow and profitability. The stronger the practice's financial, the easier it will be to secure favorable loan terms. Keep in mind that the entire financing process, from application to approval, can take several weeks. It's important to stay in close communication with your lender and be prepared to provide any additional documentation or information they request. Transition period and seller involvement. Once financing is secured and due diligence is complete, it's time to plan for the transition period. The average time from signing the LOI to closing the sale is typically 2 to 4 months, depending on the complexity of the transaction and the readiness of both parties. One of the key decisions you'll need to make during this time is whether to have the seller stay on temporarily after the sale. This decision largely depends on the size and dynamics of the practice. For smaller practices, it's often best for the seller to leave shortly after the transition. In a smaller setting, patients may expect to see the same dentist they've always known, and having the seller stay on could create confusion and undermine your authority as the new owner. In contrast, for larger practices with a significant patient base, it might make sense to have the seller stay on for a while as an associate. This arrangement can provide continuity for patients and staff, easing the transition. However, be cautious with this approach, as it doesn't always work as planned. Sellers who remain involved may struggle to let go, leading to potential conflicts or mixed messages to the team and patients. If you decide to keep the seller on temporarily, establish clear boundaries and a defined timeline for their departure. It's also important to consider the transaction from the seller's perspective. Selling a practice is often an emotional decision, especially if the seller has spent many years building their business. Understanding their concerns and being empathetic to their situation can facilitate a smoother transition. Open communication and mutual respect during this time can help ensure that both parties are satisfied with the outcome. The asset purchase agreement and closing. The final step in the process is drafting and signing the Asset Purchase Agreement, or APA. The APA is a legally binding contract that outlines all the terms and conditions of the sale, including the assets being purchased, the purchase price, and any warranties or representations made by the seller. This document will also specify any post-sale obligations, such as the seller's role during the transition period or non-compete clauses. Given the complexity of the APA, it's essential to work with an experienced lawyer who can ensure that the agreement protects your interests. The APA will cover everything from the transfer of patient records and ownership of equipment to the assignment of leases and transfer of employee contracts. Careful attention to detail in the APA can prevent future disputes and ensure a smooth transfer of ownership. Once the APA is signed by both parties, the closing process can begin. This involves finalizing the financial arrangements, transferring the funds, and officially transferring ownership of the practice. On the closing day, you'll typically meet with the seller, your lawyer, and any other relevant parties to sign the necessary documents and complete the sale. After closing, the practice is officially yours, and the transaction period begins. This is the time to implement your strategic plan, start building relationships with patients and staff, and begin putting your vision for the practice into action. 9 factors that influence practice value. When it comes to purchasing a dental practice, one of the first questions on every buyer's mind is, how much is this going to cost? The short answer, anywhere from $0 to millions of dollars. The long answer, however, is much more complicated. The value of a dental practice is influenced by a wide range of factors, each playing a role in determining whether a practice is a bargain or a big investment. Understanding these factors is crucial for getting the numbers right and ensuring you pay a fair price for what you're buying. Factor 1, financial performance. A practice's financial performance is a direct indicator of its value. Practices with consistent revenue growth, strong profit margins, and a solid cash flow will typically command higher prices. Steady growth in revenue over the last few years is a very good sign, indicating a well-maintained practice with a stable patient base. This kind of consistent performance suggests that the practice is operating efficiently and has a loyal clientele that regularly returns for treatment. However, Any recent sharp increases in revenue should be approached with caution. A sudden spike in income could be a red flag, signaling that the dentist may have artificially inflated the numbers by over-treatment planning. This can happen when a dentist aggressively recommends and performs treatments that may not be immediately necessary, just to boost short-term revenue. Such practices can lead to a depleted pool of treatment opportunities for the incoming dentist, making it harder to maintain the revenue levels once the overtreatment is corrected. When evaluating a practice, you want to find one where the patients have plenty of necessary treatment still to be done. A useful way to assess this is by analyzing the revenue by procedure. For example, look closely at the crown to filling ratio. If the dentist has done few crowns relative to fillings, this could indicate that the practice still has a lot of essential yet uncompleted treatment opportunities. On the other hand, if the dentist has been doing a large number of crowns and cosmetic cases, especially in a short period, this might be a sign of overtreatment, which could be problematic. While steady revenue growth is a positive indicator, it's essential to dig deeper into the specifics of how that revenue is generated. Practices with a balanced and honest approach to treatment planning, where patients' future treatment needs are preserved, are likely to offer better long-term value and sustainability for the buyer. Factor 2, practice size. The size of a dental practice is a key factor in determining its value. In general, larger practices tend to be more valuable, while smaller practices, usually less expensive, but come with their own set of challenges. Smaller practices, typically those generating annual revenues below $600,000, are often sold at a discount. This lower valuation reflects the significant amount of work needed to grow the practice. These practices may have fewer patients, limited services, or operational inefficiencies that require attention. For a buyer, particularly a first-time owner, a smaller practice can offer an affordable entry point, but it often requires substantial effort to scale it up. The potential for growth is there, but it may take time and investment to realize it. On the other hand, larger practices with revenues exceeding $1.2 million tend to be more valuable and command higher prices. These practices typically have multiple operatories, a more extensive team, and established systems that contribute to steady cash flow and profitability. They are often viewed as lower risk investments due to their established nature and consistent income. However, the higher purchase price reflects the fact that these practices are already optimized, with fewer immediate growth opportunities available. In some markets, the demand for larger practices has driven up their value even further. Dental service organizations, DSOs, prefer to acquire larger practices because of their efficiency, profitability, and the ability to integrate them into their existing networks. This preference has created a competitive market for larger practices, leading to higher valuations. In contrast, smaller practices may be overlooked by DSOs, which focus on economies of scale and prefer operations with higher revenue streams. As a result, smaller practices can often be purchased at a lower price, but with the understanding that significant work will be required to grow the business. While smaller practices offer the potential for growth at a lower initial cost, larger practices are often more valuable. The choice between a small and a large practice depends on the buyer's financial situation, risk tolerance, and willingness to invest time and effort into practice growth. Factor 3, geographic location. One of the most significant factors that influence the value of a dental practice is its geographic location. Practices located in urban areas, particularly in large cities or affluent suburbs, generally command higher prices than those in rural or less densely populated areas. This is largely due to the higher demand for dental services in cities where there's a larger population base and potentially higher income levels. Urban practices benefit from a steady flow of new patients, often willing to pay for premium services, which increases the practice's revenue and consequently its value. On the other hand, rural practices are often less expensive to purchase and can be a great investment if you're willing to work in a smaller community. The lower cost of living and reduced competition in rural areas can lead to strong patient loyalty and potentially lower overhead costs. However, the pool of potential buyers when it comes time to sell may be smaller, which can limit appreciation in value. Factor 4, insurance mix. The insurance mix of a practice is a crucial determinant of its value. Practices with a higher percentage of cash patients or those who use PPO insurance tend to be valued more highly. Cash-paying patients mean less hassle with insurance companies, quicker payments, and higher profit margins. PPO plans, while not as profitable as cash, still generally offer better reimbursement rates and a more straightforward processing compared to HMO or Medicaid plans. On the other hand, practices with a significant portion of patients using HMO or Medicaid insurances often sell for less. These insurance plans tend to reimburse at lower rates, and the administrative burden can be higher. The unpredictability of payments and the lower profit margin make these practices less attractive to potential buyers, thus decreasing their value. Factor 5, patient demographics and retention rates. Another factor influencing practice valuation is the patient demographics and retention rates. Practices with high patient retention rates are more valuable as they indicate strong patient loyalty and a steady stream of revenue. On the other hand, practices with a high patient turnover or those located in areas with declining populations may be valued lower due to the increased risk of revenue loss. Factor 6, facility and equipment. The physical condition of the practice's facility and equipment also plays a significant role in determining its value. A modern, well-maintained facility with up-to-date equipment can significantly increase a practice's valuation. Practices that have invested in technology, such as digital radiography, digital scanning, or paperless record systems, are often more appealing to buyers as those features can improve efficiency and patient care. Conversely, practices with outdated equipment or facilities in need of significant repairs or updates may see their value decrease, as the new owner will need to invest additional capital to bring the practice up to current standards. Factor 7, practice reputation and brand. The reputation and brand of the practice within the community can greatly influence its value. A practice with a strong, positive reputation, evidenced by good patient reviews, word-of-mouth referrals, and a recognizable brand, is more likely to command a higher price. Buyers are often willing to pay premium for practices that are well regarded and have a loyal patient base, as this reduces the risk of patient attrition following the transition into ownership. Factor 8, local competition and market saturation. The level of competition in the area also affects a practice's value. In areas with high market saturation, where multiple practices are competing for the same pool of patients, the value of a practice may be lower due to the increased difficulty of attracting and retaining patients. Conversely, practices in areas with limited competition, especially in growing communities, can be more valuable as they face fewer challenges in maintaining and growing their patient base. Factor 7, staff experience and stability. The experience and stability of the practice's staff plays a crucial role in its valuation. Practices with a well-trained, experienced, and stable team are more valuable because they ensure continuity of care and smooth operations after the sale. High staff turnover or a team with little experience can decrease the practice's value, as the new owner may face challenges in maintaining the same level of service and patient satisfaction. Valuing a dental practice is a complex process that involves balancing multiple factors, each contributing to the overall worth of the business. Geographic location, practice size, insurance mix, patient demographics, facility condition, and staff stability are just a few of the elements that influence the final price. Understanding these factors and how they interact is key to getting the numbers right, ensuring that you make a smart investment in your future as a practice owner. The goal is to find a practice that aligns with your financial and professional goals while also offering potential for growth and stability. Whether you're buying a small practice with room for expansion or a large established practice with strong cash flow, knowing how to evaluate its true value is essential for making a decision that will set you up for long-term success. Practice valuation methods. When it comes to determining the value of a dental practice, there are several methods commonly used by buyers, sellers, and financial professionals. Each method offers a different perspective on what the practice is worth, and often a combination of these approaches is used to arrive at a fair and accurate valuation. Market approach. The market approach is the best valuation method because it involves comparing the practice to similar dental practices that have recently sold in the same or similar markets. This approach is akin to how real estate is valued, using comparable sales as a benchmark. Factors such as size, location, and patient base are considered to determine how the practice stacks up against the others in the market. This method is highly regarded because it directly reflects what buyers are willing to pay in the current market. However, it can be challenging to find exact comparables, as no two practices are identical. Moreover, the exact sale price and details of these transactions are often not public knowledge, complicating the process further. Without access to specific financial details or the terms of the sale, accurately assessing how a practice compares to others that have been sold becomes difficult. Market conditions can also fluctuate, affecting valuations in a way that may not be immediately apparent. As a result, while the market approach is highly valuable, it's often best used in conjunction with other valuation methods to gain a more comprehensive understanding of a practice's true worth. Income approach. One of the most widely used methods is the income approach, also known as the capitalization of earnings method. This approach focuses on the practice's ability to generate future income and is often favored because it directly ties the practice's value to its profitability. To apply this method, the practice's net income after expenses is calculated and then capitalized using a capitalization rate, which reflects the perceived risks and expected rate of return. For example, a practice with a net income of $300,000 and a cap rate of 25% might be valued at $2.5 million. This method is particularly useful for practices with stable earnings and predictable cash flows, as it directly correlates value with the practice's financial performance. Asset-based approach. The asset-based approach focuses on the practice's tangible and intangible assets. This method calculates the total value of the practice's physical assets, such as dental equipment, office furniture, and real estate, along with its intangible assets like goodwill, brand reputation, and patient relationships. The total of these assets is then adjusted for liabilities to determine the practice's net asset value. While this method is straightforward, it often underestimates the value of a practice because it doesn't fully account for the income-generating potential of the business, especially the value of goodwill and patient loyalty. Discounted cash flow analysis. Another more sophisticated method is the discounted cash flow analysis, which projects the practice's future cash flows and then discounts them back to their present value using a discount rate that reflects the risk associated with the practice. This approach is more forward-looking than the others, as it focuses on the expected future performance rather than historical data. It's particularly useful for practices that are growing or have recently undergone significant changes that affect their cash flow. However, this method requires careful estimation of future revenues, expenses, and risks, making it more complex to calculate accurately. Percentage of annual revenue. Lastly, percentage of annual revenue is a simpler and quicker way to estimate a practice's value. In the dental industry, common rules of thumb might involve valuing a practice at a certain percentage of its annual revenue, often ranging between 60 to 100%. While these shortcuts can provide a rough estimate, they should not be solely relied upon, as they don't consider the specific details and nuances of the individual practice. Typically, smaller practices with annual revenues of $600,000 or less are valued closer to 60% of their net income. Medium practices with revenues between $600,000 and $1.2 million tend to be valued at approximately 80%, while larger practices with revenues of $1.2 million or more are often valued at around 100%. However, these percentages can be significantly influenced by the 9 factors discussed in the previous chapter. Choosing the right method. Choosing the right valuation method or combination of methods depends on the specific circumstances of the practice, the buyer's objectives, and the available financial data. Often, a combination of approaches is used to triangulate a more accurate valuation, providing a comprehensive view of what the practice is worth. Understanding these methods is crucial for both buyer and seller to ensure a fair transaction that reflects the true value of the dental practice. The practice acquisition team. Acquiring a dental practice is one of the most significant decisions you will make in your professional career. It involves not only a substantial financial investment, but also a commitment to taking on the responsibilities of ownership, including managing operations, patient care, and staff. Given the complexity of the process, surrounding yourself with a team of trusted advisors is crucial to ensuring that you make informed decisions and successfully navigate the challenges that arise during the acquisition. This chapter explores the essential roles that key team members play in the practice acquisition process, including the buyer's advocate, accountant, and lawyer. Each of these professionals brings a unique perspective and expertise to the table, helping to protect your interests and guide you through the intricacies of purchasing a dental practice. The dental buyer's advisor. When purchasing a dental practice, the seller will have a broker on their side, advocating for their best interests and often pushing for the highest possible sale price. This dynamic makes it crucial for you, as the buyer, to have someone equally focused on protecting your interest. While a lawyer can provide essential legal advice, an accountant can handle the financial details. Solely relying on them may not offer the day-to-day support you need. This is where a dental advisor comes in, a professional dedicated to guiding you through the entire acquisition process. A dental buyer's advisor becomes an invaluable member of your advisory team once you've identified a practice you're interested in purchasing. Their expertise is crucial once you've found a potential acquisition. One of the key responsibilities of a dental buyer's advisor is to help you determine whether the practice is a good buy. They will conduct a thorough analysis of the practice's financials, patient demographics, and operational structure to assess its overall health and potential for growth. This evaluation is essential in determining whether the practice aligns with your professional goals and is likely to provide a solid return on investment. The dental buyer's advisor plays a crucial role in helping you determine a fair price. They provide insights into market trends, comparable sales, and the fair market value of the practice based on its financial performance and location. This expertise is particularly valuable during the negotiation of the letter of intent, as it helps you avoid overpaying and ensures that the terms of the deal are equitable. Throughout the LOI negotiations, your advisor often offers strategic advice, helping you navigate the often complex and nuanced discussions with the seller. They can recommend when to push for concessions and when to compromise, always with the goal of securing a deal that works in your favor while maintaining a positive relationship with the seller. Once the LOI is signed, the dental buyer's advisor continues to provide support during the due diligence process. They assist in reviewing the documents and data gathered during this phase, working closely with your accountant and lawyer to ensure that all aspects of the practice are thoroughly vetted. By providing an objective and knowledgeable perspective, the advisor helps you identify any potential red flags and makes informed decisions about moving forward with the purchase. Another significant benefit of working with a dental buyer's advisor is their ability to connect you with other essential professionals such as banks, accountants, and lawyers who specialize in dental practice acquisitions. These connections can be invaluable in assembling a strong advisory team and ensuring that every aspect of the transaction is handled by experienced experts. Small mistakes in financing a dental practice acquisition can be incredibly costly, with even minor errors potentially leading to tens of thousands of dollars in unnecessary fees, higher interest rates, or unfavorable loan terms. Without a deep understanding of the available financing options, it's easy to overlook better deals or miss opportunities to structure your financing more effectively. A dental buyer's advisor can help you navigate these complexities, ensuring that you fully understand your options and guiding you towards the most cost-effective solutions. Their expertise can prevent costly missteps and potentially save you substantial amounts of money over the life of your loan, making the entire acquisition process smoother and more financially sound. Ideally, your dental buyer's advisor should be another dentist who has gone through the process of buying a practice themselves. Their firsthand experience adds a layer of practical insight that is invaluable during the acquisition. They understand the unique challenges and opportunities that come with buying a dental practice and can offer advice grounded in real-world experience. This perspective not only enhances their ability to evaluate the practice, but also strengthens their capacity to guide you through each step of the process with confidence. A dental buyer's advisor is instrumental in evaluating the practice, determining a fair purchase price, and advising during the LOI negotiations, reviewing due diligence documents, and connecting you with other professionals who can support you through the entire acquisition process. Their expertise and guidance can make the difference between a successful acquisition and one that falls short of your expectations. The accountant. An accountant with expertise in dental practice acquisitions is indispensable for conducting financial due diligence and ensuring that the practice you're purchasing is a sound investment. The accountant's role extends beyond simply reviewing financial statements. They provide a comprehensive analysis of the practice's financial health, including revenue streams, profit margin, overhead, and cash flow. During the due diligence phase, the accountant will examine the practice's income statements, balance sheets, and tax returns for the past several years. They will assess the consistency and sustainability of the practice's revenue, looking for any red flags such as declining income, high levels of accounts receivable, or unusual expenses. The accountant will also analyze the practice's overhead costs, identifying areas where expenses may be higher than industry norms, and assessing whether these costs are manageable or if they could impact your profitability. In addition to evaluating the practice's current financial performance, the accountant will help you project future income and expenses under your ownership. This includes accounting for potential changes in patient retention, staff compensation, and any necessary investments in equipment or technology. These projections are critical for developing a realistic budget and business plan, which will be essential for securing financing and planning for the future. Accountants who specialize in dental practices generally charge a monthly flat fee that varies based on the size and complexity of the practice. This fee typically covers routine financial services such as bookkeeping, financial statement preparation, and ongoing financial consulting. For smaller practices, the monthly fee might be on the lower end, while larger, more complex practices can expect to pay higher monthly fees due to the increased workload and more sophisticated financial management needs. In addition to the monthly retainer, most accountants charge a separate fee for tax preparation. This fee covers the preparation and filing of federal, state, and local tax returns, as well as any necessary tax planning strategies to optimize your tax obligations. The tax preparation fee can vary depending on the complexity of your financial situation, the number of filings required, and any additional services you may need, such as tax audits or representation before tax authorities. Many accountants also offer comprehensive bookkeeping services through online portals like QuickBooks Online. By using such platforms, accountants can streamline the bookkeeping process, allowing for real-time updates and easy access to financial records. This service often includes reconciling bank statements, tracking expenses and revenues, managing accounts payable and receivable, and generating regular financial reports. Additionally, accountants can assist with payroll management, ensuring that your employees are paid accurately and on time. They can handle the necessary tax withholdings, employee documentation, and compliance with labor laws. Furthermore, accountants can provide valuable assistance with setting up and managing retirement accounts such as 401k plans for your employees. These services ensure that you're offering competitive benefits to attract and retain key staff, while also complying with relevant regulations. By entrusting these responsibilities to an accountant, you can focus on the clinical and operational aspects of your practice, knowing that the financial side is being managed professionally and efficiently. The lawyer. The legal complexities of purchasing a dental practice cannot be overstated, making the role of a lawyer critical to the success of an acquisition. A lawyer who specializes in dental practice transactions brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to the process, helping to protect your interest and navigate the legal intricacies of the deal. One of the lawyer's primary responsibilities is to review and draft the legal documents associated with the purchase, including the letter of intent, asset purchase agreement, and any other contracts or agreements related to the sale. The lawyer will ensure that these documents accurately reflect the terms of the deal and include provisions that protect you from potential liabilities. During the due diligence process, the lawyer will review all legal aspects of the practice, including contracts with employees, suppliers, and landlords, as well as any outstanding legal issues such as pending lawsuits or regulatory compliance matters. They will identify any legal risks associated with the practice and advise you on how to address them before moving forward with the purchase. Another critical aspect of the lawyer's role is ensuring that the transaction complies with all relevant laws and regulations, including those specific to the dental industry. This includes reviewing the practice's compliance with healthcare regulations, patient privacy laws such as HIPAA in the United States, and occasional safety standards. The lawyer will also ensure that the transfer of ownership is conducted in accordance with state and federal laws, minimizing the risk of legal disputes down the road. The lawyer's expertise is particularly important during the negotiation and closing phases of the transaction. They will work closely with your buyer's advocate and accountant to negotiate favorable terms in the asset purchase agreement, including non-compete clauses, warranties, and indemnifications. At closing, the lawyer will oversee the execution of all legal documents, ensuring that the transfer of ownership is completed smoothly and without legal complications. Sometimes the practice broker will provide templates for key documents like the letter of intent and asset purchase agreement as part of their services. These broker-provided templates can potentially save time and reduce legal costs, as they are often tailored to common scenarios in dental practice sales. However, it's important to weigh the potential benefits against the potential downsides. If your lawyer has preferred forms that they regularly use, it might actually be more efficient and cost-effective for them to work from their own templates rather than adapting those provided by the broker. Legal fees are typically the most expensive part of the dental practice acquisition process, making it crucial to carefully consider how these costs are structured. Lawyers who specialize in dental practice transactions bring essential expertise, but this expertise often comes at a significant cost. It can be particularly helpful to find a lawyer who is willing to charge a set fee for the entire process. A set fee provides you with a clear understanding of the total legal cost up front, making it easier to budget and plan accordingly. However, many lawyers prefer to charge an hourly rate, which can be less predictable and may lead to higher cost if the transaction becomes more complex or drawn out than anticipated. The uncertainty of hourly billing can make it difficult to accurately plan your budget, as unforeseen complications or extended negotiations can quickly escalate legal fees. In these situations, working with a buyer's advocate can be especially beneficial. A buyer's advocate who has expertise in dental practice transitions can advise you on whether the legal fees and the fee structure presented by the lawyer seem fair and reasonable. They can also help you evaluate whether the services offered justify the costs, ensuring that you receive the necessary legal protection without overpaying. By carefully considering the fee structure and seeking advice from your buyer's advocate, you can manage the legal costs more effectively while ensuring that your interests are fully protected throughout the transaction. Working as a team, each member of your advisory team, the buyer's advisor, accountant, and lawyer, bring specialized expertise that is critical to the success of your acquisition. However, it's the synergy between these professionals that truly enhances the value they provide. By working together, your advisors can offer comprehensive guidance that covers all aspects of the transaction, from the financial analysis and legal protection to strategic planning and negotiation. For example, your lawyer and accountant can collaborate to ensure that the financial terms of the APA are both legally and fiscally advantageous. Your buyer's advocate can provide market insights that inform your lawyer's negotiation strategy, while your accountant's analysis of the practice financial help can help you and your advisor decide on an appropriate offer. This collaboration approach ensures that no aspects of the acquisition is overlooked and that you are fully supported through the process. It also allows you to focus on preparing for your new role as a practice owner. While the practice broker facilitates the sale, it's your team of independent advisors who ensure that the transaction aligns with your goals and sets you up for long-term success as a practice owner. By leveraging the collective knowledge and expertise of your advisory team, you can approach the acquisition with confidence, knowing that you have the support you need to make the best possible decisions for your future. Drafting a letter of intent, making it official. The letter of intent is a pivotal document in the dental practice acquisition process, marking the point where the buyer and seller formally agree on the broad terms of the deal. While it is not a binding contract to complete the sale, the LOI serves as an essential step in making the purchase process official. It lays the groundwork for the detailed negotiations and due diligence that follow. The LOI is the critical juncture where the negotiations should take place, not at closing. It's during the LOI stage that you and the seller need to agree on the key terms and conditions of the sale, including the purchase price, payment terms, and any other contingencies. Attempting to renegotiate these terms later, particularly at closing, can jeopardize the entire deal and strain the relationship with the seller. By the time you reach closing, both parties should be fully committed to the agreed upon terms, allowing the transaction to proceed smoothly. Therefore, it's essential to address all concerns and finalize negotiations during the LOI stage, ensuring that there are no surprises or last-minute changes when it's time to close the sale. The purpose of the letter of intent. The primary purpose of the LOI is to outline the key terms and conditions of the proposed transaction in a clear, concise manner. It serves as a framework for the more detailed and binding agreements that will come later, such as the asset purchase agreement. The LOI helps ensure that both parties are aligned on the fundamental aspects of the deal before investing significant time and resources into due diligence and legal work. By establishing mutual understanding and agreement on the key terms, the LOI minimizes the risks of misunderstandings or disputes later in the process. It also provides both parties with a sense of security, knowing that there is a shared commitment to moving forward with the transaction under the agreed upon terms. Purchase price and payment terms. The LOI typically begins with the proposed purchase price for the practice. This is often the most critical aspect of the LOI, as it sets the financial expectations for both the buyer and the seller. The LOI should specify whether the purchase price is subject to adjustments based on factors like inventory, accounts receivable, or due diligence findings. In addition to the purchase price, the LOI should outline the payment terms, whether the payment will be made in full at closing or will there be a portion financed over time. If financing is involved, the LOI should specify the financing terms, including interest rates, repayment schedules, and any contingencies related to securing financing. Deposit or earnest money. As a demonstration of your commitment to the purchase, the LOI often includes a provision for a deposit or earnest money. This deposit is typically held in escrow and is credited toward the purchase price at closing. The LOI should clearly state the amount of the deposit, the conditions under which it may be refunded, and what happens to the deposit if the transaction does not close. As a buyer, it's wise to negotiate the earnest money to be as low as possible. While the deposit is a show of good faith, keeping it minimal reduces your financial risks if the deal falls through. A lower deposit also keeps more of your funds liquid during the due diligence process, giving you flexibility to address any unexpected issues that may arise. Be prepared to justify a lower earnest money amount by emphasizing the thorough due diligence process that lies ahead, which can reassure the seller of your commitment without tying up a large sum of money. Terms of due diligence. The due diligence period is a critical part of the acquisition process where you will thoroughly examine the practice's financials, patient records, contracts, and legal obligations. The LOI should outline the length of the due diligence period and any specific areas that will be reviewed. It should also include provisions for how potential issues discovered during the due diligence will be handled, such as adjustments to the purchase price or termination of the deal. Negotiate a sufficiently long due diligence period to allow for a comprehensive review of all aspects of the practice. This period is your opportunity to uncover any potential issues that could impact the value or feasibility of the purchase. Make sure the LOI includes the flexibility to adjust the purchase price or back out of the deal if significant problems are discovered during this phase. Exclusivity period. The LOI often includes an exclusivity clause, which ensures that the seller will not entertain other offers for the practice while the buyer is conducting due diligence and securing financing. This period typically lasts 60 to 90 days, depending on the complexity of the transaction. The exclusivity clause provides the buyers with a peace of mind, knowing that they have an exclusive opportunity to complete the purchase without the risk of being outbid or losing the practice to another buyer. Contingencies and conditions. The LOI should specify any contingencies that must be met before the transaction can proceed to closing. Common contingencies include securing financing, satisfactory completion of due diligence, and obligatory necessary regulatory approvals. These conditions protect both parties by ensuring that certain aspects of the deal are resolved before finalizing the transaction. Ensure that the LOI includes clear and specific contingencies that protect you as the buyer. This includes making the deal contingent on securing financing on acceptable terms and successfully completing due diligence. These contingencies give you an exit strategy if unforeseen issues arise or if financing terms are unavailable. Transition plan. While the details of the transition plan will be further developed later in the process, the LOI should include a general outline of how the transition will be handled. This might involve whether the seller will stay on as an associate for a period, how patient and staff communications will be managed, and any training or support the seller will provide to the buyer during the handover. If the practice is large and the seller's continued involvement could be beneficial, ensure the LOI outlines a clear and limited role for the seller post-sale. If the practice is small, you may want to specify that the seller will not stay on after the sale, as their continued presence could confuse patients or undermine your authority. Non-binding nature. It is essential to note that the LOI is generally non-binding, meaning that while it lays out the intents of both parties, it does not legally obligate either party to complete the transaction. However, certain sections of the LOI, such as the exclusivity period and confidentiality provisions, may be binding and enforceable. The LOI should clearly state which provisions are binding and which are not. Confirm with your lawyer that the non-binding and binding sections of the LOI are clearly delineated. This clarity helps prevent any legal misunderstandings and ensures that you're not unintentionally committing to terms that should remain negotiable. Accounts receivable. When drafting the letter of intent, one decision you'll need to make is whether to include the purchase of the practice's accounts receivable as part of the overall deal. Accounts receivable refers to the outstanding payments owed to the practice by patients or insurance companies for services already rendered. Deciding whether or not to buy the accounts receivable is an important consideration that can have significant implications for your cash flow and financial management after the acquisition. Purchasing the accounts receivable can be advantageous in several ways. First, it provides an immediate influx of cash flow, which can be particularly helpful during the initial transition period when you may face additional expenses, such as staff retention bonuses, marketing to retain patients, or minor renovations. Additionally, owning the accounts receivable allows you to maintain control over the collections process, ensuring that you can pursue outstanding payments according to your own policies and procedures. This control can be especially important if you have specific strategies for managing patient billings and collections. However, buying the accounts receivable also comes with potential risks. Not all outstanding accounts receivable are guaranteed to be collected, and there may be accounts that are significantly overdue or at high risk of becoming uncollectible. These bad debts could reduce the actual value of the AR and complicate your financial planning. To mitigate this risk, it's important to conduct thorough due diligence on the accounts receivable, reviewing aging reports to assess the likelihood of collection and negotiating the purchase price of the AR accordingly. It's common for AR to be purchased at a discounted rate based on its aging. For example, AR less than 30 days might be purchased at 100% of its value, 30 to 60 days at 90%, and 60 to 90 days old at 80%, and accounts receivable older than 90 days may be valued at 0%, as it's often deemed unlikely to be collected. This sliding scale reflects the increasing risk of non-collection as the accounts age. If you decide not to purchase the accounts receivable, the seller typically retains ownerships of the accounts receivable and continues to collect on those outstanding balances after the sale. In this scenario, you would start fresh with your own billing and collections moving forward, without any obligations tied to the previous owner's receivables. This option can simplify the transaction and reduce your exposure to bad debts, but it also means forfeiting the immediate cash flow that the AR might provide. Ultimately, the decision to purchase the accounts receivable should be based on a careful analysis of the accounts receivables quality, the financial needs of the practice post-transition, and your own preferences for managing billing and collections. This is an important discussion to have with your advisor, accountant, and lawyer who can provide guidance on the potential benefits and risks, helping you make an informed decision that aligns with your overall acquisition strategy. Drafting the LOI, a collaborative effort. Drafting an LOI should be a collaborative effort between you, your advisor, and your lawyer. While the LOI is not as detailed or legally complex as the final purchase agreement, it's crucial to ensure that it accurately reflects your intentions and protects your interests. Your advisor can provide valuable insights into market standards and negotiating strategies, while your lawyer will ensure that the language of the LOI is clear, precise, and legally sound. It's also important to strike a balance between thoroughness and efficiency when drafting the LOI. While you'll want to cover all the key points, it's essential to avoid getting bogged down in excessive details or legal jargon at this stage. The goal of the LOI is to create a clear, mutually agreeable framework that allows both parties to move forward confidently into due diligence and final negotiations. Negotiating the LOI, finding common ground. The negotiation of the LOI is often where the sale price and other critical terms are finalized. It's common for the LOI to go through several rounds of revisions as both parties work to reach an agreement. During these negotiations, it's essential to approach discussions with a collaborative mindset. While you want to secure favorable terms, it's also important to maintain a positive relationship with the seller, especially since goodwill is a significant part of the practice's value. Be mindful of not pushing too hard on price or any other term, as this could sour the relationship and jeopardize the deal. It's also wise to consider the cost implications of extensive negotiations, as each revision of the LOI may require review by your lawyer, potentially increasing legal fees. Working closely with your buyer's advocate and lawyer can help you navigate these negotiations effectively, balancing your interest with the need to reach an agreement that works for both parties. The LOI is a critical step in the acquisition process, serving as the foundation for the detailed negotiations and due diligence that will follow. By carefully drafting and negotiating the LOI, you set stage for a successful acquisition, ensuring that both you and the seller are aligned on the key terms and ready to move forward with confidence. In the following chapters, we will explore the next steps in the acquisition process, including due diligence, financing, and finalizing the asset purchase agreement, as you continue your journey towards practice ownership. Due diligence, deep dive into practice assessment. The due diligence phase of acquiring a dental practice is one of the most critical steps in the entire process. This is where you move beyond the initial assessment and dive deep into the practice's financial, operational, and legal aspects to ensure that you are making a sound investment. Due diligence allows you to uncover any potential issues, validate the information provided by the seller, and assess whether the practice is truly worth the agreed upon purchase price. Due diligence is essentially your opportunity to verify that everything about the practice is as it appears. It is the process of thoroughly investigating the practice to ensure that you're not inheriting any unforeseen problems or liabilities. This phase is crucial for identifying potential risks, such as financial discrepancies, legal issues, or operational inefficiencies that could affect the practice's profitability and long-term viability. Conducting thorough due diligence also gives you leverage to renegotiate terms or, if necessary, walk away from the deal if significant red flags are uncovered. Step 1. Financial due diligence. Financial due diligence is the cornerstone of the practice assessment. During this phase, you'll work closely with your accountant to analyze the practice's financial health in detail. Key documents to review include income statements and profit and loss statements. These documents provide insight into the practice's revenue, expenses, and profitability over the past few years. Look for consistent revenue streams and healthy profit margins. Be wary of declining income or unusually high expenses, which could indicate underlying issues. Tax returns. Examining the practice tax returns can help verify the accuracy of reported income and expenses. Discrepancies between tax returns and financial statements may signal potential issues. Accounts receivable aging report. This report details outstanding patient balances and how long they've been overdue. High levels of uncollected accounts receivable can be a red flag, indicating potential problems with billings or collections. Production reports. These reports break down the practice's revenue by procedure and provider. They can help you understand which services are driving revenue and identify any over-reliance on a particular provider or service. Look for trends in the financial data over multiple years. Consistent growth in revenue and stable expenses are positive indicators, while significant fluctuations may require further investigation. Don't hesitate to ask for explanations or additional documentation if something doesn't add up. Step 2. Operational due diligence. Operational due diligence involves evaluating day-to-day functioning of the practice to ensure that it runs efficiently and effectively. Spend time observing the practice during regular operating hours to get a first-hand sense of how it functions. Pay attention to patient flow, staff interactions, and the overall atmosphere of the practice. A well-run practice should operate smoothly with minimal bottlenecks or disruptions. Key areas to examine include patient demographics and retention. Review patient records to understand the patient's base demographics, including age, income level, and insurance coverage. High patient retention rates and a balanced demographic mix are signs of a stable and healthy practice. Staffing and employment contracts. Evaluate the current staff structure, including roles, salaries, and contracts. Ensure that there are no hidden liabilities, such as unpaid benefits or complicated arrangements that could disrupt operations after the transition. Office workflow and technology. Observe the practice's workflow from patient scheduling and treatment planning to billing and collections. Assess whether the office uses up-to-date technology, such as a practice management system and digital radiography, which can enhance efficiency and patient care. Supplier and vendor contracts. Review agreements with suppliers and vendors to ensure favorable terms and reliable service. Check for any long-term contracts that may be difficult to renegotiate or exit. Legal due diligence. Legal due diligence is essential for uncovering any potential legal risk associated with the practice. Your lawyer will play a key role in this phase, focusing on the following areas. Review of contracts. Examine all contracts related to the practice, including leases, employment agreements, vendor contracts, and any service agreements. Ensure that these contracts are transferable or that you can renegotiate them to your satisfaction. Regulatory compliance. Confirm that the practice complies with all relevant healthcare regulations, including HIPAA or patient privacy or OSHA standards for workplace safety. Licensing and credentialing. Verify that the practice and all providers hold the necessary licenses and credentials to operate legally. Any lapses in licensing can result in significant fines or the loss of ability to practice. Pending or past litigation. Investigate whether the practice is involved in any ongoing litigation or has a history of legal disputes. Lawsuits, even if resolved, can indicate potential risks or conflicts that could affect the practice's reputation or financial stability. Work closely with your lawyer to ensure that all legal documents are thoroughly reviewed. Don't rely solely on the seller's representations, insisting on verifying key legal information through independent sources. This approach helps protect you from inheriting any legal issues that could complicate ownership. Facility and equipment assessment. A comprehensive assessment of the physical condition of the practice's facility and equipment is also a critical component of due diligence. This assessment includes: conduct a walkthrough of the office to assess the condition of the facility. Look for signs of wear and tear, deferred maintenance, or any need for immediate repairs. Consider the layout and whether it supports efficient operations. Inventory all dental equipment, including chairs, x-ray machines, sterilization units, and other tools. Determine the age, condition, and remaining useful life of the equipment. Older equipment may require replacement soon, which should be factored into your purchase decision. If you're not familiar with evaluating dental equipment, consider contacting a local equipment representative to conduct a thorough inspection of the practice's tools and machinery. These reps are often well-versed in the latest dental technologies and can provide a detailed report on the condition of the equipment, including any anticipated maintenance or replacement needs. They can help you identify potential issues such as aging or malfunctioning equipment, which might require attention soon after the acquisition. However, it's important to approach this option with caution. While equipment reps can be a valuable resource, they also have a vested interest in selling you new or upgraded equipment. Their incentive may be to highlight every potential flaw or inefficiency in the existing setup, even in cases where immediate replacement might not be necessary. This could lead to recommendations for costly upgrades that, while beneficial, might not be essential to the practice's immediate operation. Throughout the due diligence process, your advisory team, comprising your advisor, accountant, and lawyer, will be instrumental in ensuring that no detail is overlooked. Each member brings specialized expertise to the table. Using due diligence findings to negotiate. The findings from your due diligence efforts can provide leverage in negotiations with the seller. If you discover issues such as declining revenue, outdated equipment, or legal risks, you may have grounds to renegotiate the purchase price or request that the seller address these concerns before closing. For example, if significant equipment upgrades are needed, you could ask the seller to reduce the purchase price to offset the anticipated costs. Approach any renegotiation discussion with professionalism and transparency. Present your findings and concerns clearly, and be prepared to provide evidence to support your requests. Maintaining a collaborative tone can help preserve goodwill and ensure that both parties remain committed to closing the deal. The due diligence process is your opportunity to fully understand the practice you're about to purchase and to ensure that it aligns with your expectations and goals. By conducting a thorough assessment of the practice's financials, operations, legal standing, and physical condition, you can make informed decisions and mitigate potential risks. This deep dive into the practice's operations not only protects your investment, but also sets the foundation for a successful transition into ownership. The insurance mix. Key considerations for practice owners. One of the most crucial factors to evaluate during the acquisition of a dental practice is the insurance mix. The variety of payment methods patients use, including PPO, preferred provider organizations, HMOs, health maintenance organizations, Medicaid, and cash payments, often referred to as fee-for-service or FFS. Understanding this mix is essential, as it can significantly impact the financial stability of the practice, the types of patients you'll encounter, and the long-term success of your ownership. Understanding the insurance mix. The insurance mix within a dental practice can vary widely, and it plays a key role in shaping the patient base and the financial dynamics of the practice. Practices that predominantly serve PPO patients typically enjoy a steady stream of patients, as these plans are widely accepted and often incentivize regular dental visits. However, PPO plans usually offer lower reimbursement rates, which can put pressure on profit margins. As an owner, you'll need to balance the benefits of a consistent patient flow with the challenges of managing lower per visit revenue. Practices with a significant HMO patient base might face even greater financial challenges. HMOs provide the lowest reimbursement rates, and they may require the practice to adhere to stricter care guidelines, which can limit the range of treatments you can offer. On the upside, HMOs tend to have loyal patient bases due to the structure of these plans, which can create a stable, if less profitable, source of income. Medicaid patients represent another unique segment of the insurance mix. While Medicaid often brings a high volume of patients, the reimbursement rates are typically low, and the administrative burden can be significant. Additionally, practices that serve a large number of Medicaid patients may encounter more complex social and health issues, which can require additional time and resources to manage effectively. It's also worth noting that practices with heavy Medicaid focus may be subject to tighter regulatory oversight. Finally, fee-for-service or cash patients pay out of pocket for their dental care, often resulting in higher per-visit revenue. At first glance, a practice with a high percentage of fee-for-service patients might seem like an attractive prospect due to the potential for higher profitability. However, it's important to approach this scenario with caution. Fee-for-service patients are typically less bound to the practice, as they don't rely on insurance networks to guide their provider choices. After the transition of ownership, these patients may feel less loyalty and could be more likely to seek care elsewhere, especially if they perceive changes in the practice's environment, pricing, or care approach. Evaluating the patient base. When assessing the insurance mix, consider how it aligns with the type of patients you are comfortable treating and the kind of practice you are envisioning running. A practice with a diverse insurance mix offers the advantage of spreading financial risk across different payer types, which can provide a more stable revenue stream. However, each type of patient base comes with its own set of challenges and opportunities. For instance, a practice with a strong PPO base may require efficient management of lower margin services, but it often enjoys a higher level of patient retention due to the insurance plan's network's constraints. Conversely, a practice heavily reliant on Medicaid patients might require more focus on patient education and complex case management, but it can benefit from the volume of patients who rely on these services. If you're considering a practice with a significant portion of fee-for-service patients, it's essential to evaluate the strengths of the practice's reputation and the quality of patient relationships. These factors will be critical in retaining patients after ownership transition. If the practice is too heavily weighted towards fee-for-service, you might face challenges in maintaining patient volume, particularly if the new ownership leads to changes, real or perceived, that could unsettle these patients. Strategic considerations for the insurance mix. As you evaluate the insurance mix, it's important to think strategically about how it will impact your practice in the short and long term. Here are a few considerations to keep in mind. Patient retention. Practices with a higher percentage of PPO or HMO patients tend to have better patient retention rates, as these practices are often tied to their insurance networks and less likely to switch providers. In contrast, fee-for-service patients, while more profitable per visit, may be less loyal and more price sensitive, making them more likely to leave if they feel the practice is no longer meeting their expectations. Revenue predictability. A diverse insurance mix can help smooth out revenue fluctuations, providing a more predictable income stream. Practices that rely too heavily on fee-for-service patients may experience more significant swings in revenue, particularly during economic downturns or changes in patient demographics. Practice growth. Consider how the insurance mix aligns with your growth strategy. If you plan to expand the practice, adding more PPO patients might increase patient volume and help you achieve your goals. However, this could also require investments in efficiency and staff training to manage the increased patient load effectively. Prices and discounts. Be aware that practices with a high percentage of Medicaid patients often operate at lower margins due to the discounted rates set by the program. While this can provide a steady patient base, it may limit your ability to invest in new technology, staff, or services. Conversely, if you're inheriting a practice with a high fee-for-service patient base, you may need to be cautious about price changing post-acquisition, as these could lead to patient attrition. The insurance mix is a critical component of a dental practice's financial health and long-term success. As you evaluate potential practices, consider how the mix of PPO, HMO, Medicaid, and fee-for-service patients align with your goals as a practice owner. A well-balanced insurance mix can provide stability and growth opportunities, while an unbalanced mix may present challenges that require careful management. By understanding the implications of each type of insurance and how they affect patient behavior and practice revenue, you can make informed decisions that position your practice for success. Financing your acquisition, options and strategies. Securing financing for the acquisition of a dental practice is one of the most critical steps in the process of becoming a practice owner. Fortunately, dental practices are often considered low-risk investments by lenders, making it relatively easy for qualified buyers to obtain financing. Banks and financial institutions recognize the stability and profitability of dental practices, which often leads to favorable financing terms that can cover more than 100% of the purchase price, including working capital. This chapter will explore the various financing options available, the importance of having liquid savings, and strategies for ensuring your practice has the positive cash flow necessary to meet financial obligations and your salary expectations. The appeal of dental practice financing. Lenders view dental practices as low-risk investments due to their consistent cash flow, high demand for services, and typically strong profit margins. As a result, banks are often willing to finance more than 100% of the purchase price of a dental practice. This means that in addition to the purchase price, you may also secure financing for working capital, which can be used to cover initial operating expenses such as payroll, supplies, marketing, and any immediate upgrades or renovations needed after the acquisition. Another significant advantage is that many lenders do not require a down payment for dental practice loans. This is particularly beneficial for younger dentists or those who are transitioning from an associate position and may not have substantial cash reserves. However, while a down payment may not be necessary, lenders typically require that you have between $50,000 to $75,000 in liquid savings. This requirement serves as proof of your financial responsibility and provides a safety net in case of unexpected expenses or cash flow challenges during the transition period. Working capital. Working capital is an essential component of the financing package and is critical to the smooth operation of your practice after the acquisition. It represents the funds available to cover day-to-day expenses, including payroll, rent, utilities, supplies, and other operational costs. Having adequate working capital ensures you can maintain operations without disruption, especially during the initial months when cash flow might be less predictable as you transition into ownership. When securing financing, it's important to include an appropriate amount of working capital in your loan package. Lenders typically understand the need for working capital and are often willing to include this as part of the overall financing deal. By doing so, you can avoid the stress of having to dip into personal savings or secure additional short-term loans to keep the practice running smoothly. Working capital is not only a financial cushion, but also a tool for growth, allowing you to invest in marketing, staff training, or new equipment that can enhance the practice's profitability. Seller financing, an option for practices with challenges. In some cases, especially when a practice may not look particularly strong on paper, perhaps due to declining revenue, poor performance, or a challenging location, traditional lenders might be hesitant to provide full financing. In these situations, seller financing can be an effective option. Seller financing occurs when the seller agrees to finance part or all of the purchase price, essentially acting as the lender. Seller financing is often used in situations where the practice's financials may not be attractive to traditional banks, but the seller is confident in the practice's potential under new ownership. This arrangement can be mutually beneficial. The buyer gains the opportunity to acquire the practice with less upfront capital, and the seller receives interest on the loan in addition to the sale proceeds. However, it's important to approach seller financing with caution. The terms of seller financing agreements can vary widely, and it's crucial to ensure that the repayment terms are realistic based on the practice's cash flow. Additionally, you'll need to carefully assess why the practice might be struggling and develop a clear plan for turning it around. Seller financing can be a great tool, but it requires careful negotiation and a solid business plan to ensure that it's a sustainable option. Regardless of the financing option you choose, the practice you purchase must have a positive cash flow that is sufficient to cover loan repayments, operational expenses, and your salary expectations. Positive cash flow means the practice consistently brings in more money than it spends, allowing for the sustainable repayment of loans and providing you with the income necessary to meet your personal and professional financial goals. When evaluating a practice's cash flow, consider the following: loan repayments. Ensure that the practice's monthly revenue is sufficient to cover the loan repayments without straining the business. This includes principal and interest payments, which should be factored into your financial projections. Operating expenses. Evaluate the practice's operating expenses, including staff salaries, rent, utilities, supplies, and other overhead costs. These expenses must be met consistently, so it's crucial that the practice generates enough revenue to cover them comfortably. Your salary expectations. As the new owner, you'll expect to draw a salary that reflects your professional skills and the time you invest into the practice. Ensure that the practice's cash flow allows for a reasonable salary that meets your financial needs while still leaving room for growth and investment in the practice. If during your due diligence you find that the practice's cash flow is tight or inconsistent, you'll need to carefully consider whether the purchase is viable. In some cases, you might negotiate a lower purchase price, adjust the financing terms, or develop a plan to increase revenue post-acquisition. A thorough understanding of the practice's cash flow is essential to avoid financial strain and ensure long-term success. Financing the acquisition of a dental practice involves careful planning and strategic decision-making. With dental practices considered low-risk investments, lenders are often willing to offer favorable terms, including financing more than 100% of the purchase price and waiving down payment requirements. However, it's crucial to ensure that you have adequate liquid savings, including working capital, in your financial package, and that thoroughly assess the practice's cash flow to guarantee that it can support loan repayments and meet your financial expectations. Seller financing can be a viable option in cases where traditional financing is challenging to obtain, but it requires carefully considering a strong business plan. By understanding the various financing options available and the importance of positive cash flow, you can secure the financial foundation needed for a successful transition into practice ownership and long-term success. Managing employees through the transition. Successfully managing the transition of ownership in a dental practice goes beyond financials and legalities. It also involves carefully handling the existing team of employees. The staff, particularly key team members like hygienist and the office manager, are integral to the practice's daily operations and the patient relationships that drive its success. Ensuring that these employees remain with the practice after the sale is crucial, as their departure could disrupt operations, diminish patient loyalty, and potentially lead to a loss of revenue. In this chapter, we'll explore the strategies for managing employees during the transition with a focus on retaining key personnel and maintaining stability within the practice. The importance of retaining key employees. Hygienists and office managers are often the most important people in a dental practice. Hygienists, in particular, have built long-term relationships with patients through regular, often biannual appointments. They are trusted by patients, and their departure could lead to a significant loss of goodwill. Similarly, the office manager plays a critical role in keeping the practice running smoothly by managing schedules, billing, and patient communications. If these key employees leave after the transition, it could create a void that is difficult to fill, potentially leading to operational challenges and patient attrition. While the seller cannot guarantee that all employees will stay after the sale, there are ways to assess the likelihood of their continued employment. Consider factors such as the employee's age, years of service, and current satisfaction with their roles. Younger employees or those deeply engaged with their work are more likely to stay on, while older employees nearing retirement or those who may be feeling burned out might be considering a change. Understanding these dynamics can help you prepare for potential turnover and develop contingency plans if key staff members decide to leave. Meeting the employees, a critical step. Meeting the employees before closing is ideal, as it allows you to build rapport, assess their attitudes, and address any concerns they may have about the transition. However, some sellers may be hesitant to introduce you to the staff before the sale is finalized, fearing that the news of the sale might cause anxiety or lead to premature departures. While these concerns are understandable, it is in your best interest to meet the employees early in the process. This interaction provides an opportunity to gauge their commitment to staying with the practice and to start building trust. During these meetings, it's essential to reassure the staff that the transition will be smooth and that their jobs are secure. Even if you plan to make changes after taking ownership, it's often best to communicate stability during the initial transition period. Assure the employees that their pay, hours, and job responsibilities will not be affected. Emphasize that their experience and expertise are invaluable to the practice and that you need them to continue delivering the high level of care that patients expect. Building this sense of security is crucial for maintaining morale and reducing the likelihood of turnover. The more confident the staff feels about their future with the practice, the more likely they are to stay on and help facilitate a smooth transition for both you and the patients. Planning for potential turnover. Despite your best efforts, there is always a risk that some employees may choose to leave after or during the transition. It's important to have a plan in place to manage potential turnover, particularly if key team members like hygienist or the office manager decide to move on. If you sense that an employee is considering leaving, try to have an open and honest conversation with them to understand their concerns. In some cases, offering additional incentives such as a retention bonus or enhanced benefits might be enough to encourage them to stay through the transition period and beyond. However, if it becomes clear that a key employee is likely to leave, start preparing for their departure as soon as possible. Begin by identifying potential replacements, either by reaching out to your professional network or working with a dental staffing agency. Having a plan in place for hiring and training new staff will help minimize disruptions to the practice. Additionally, consider how you will communicate any staff changes to patients. If a well-known and trusted hygienist or office manager leaves, it's important to reassure the patients that the quality of care will remain high. Introduce new staff members promptly and encourage continuity by maintaining consistent communications with patients about any changes in the practice. Additionally, consider how you will communicate any changes to patients. If a well-known and trusted hygienist or office manager leaves, it's important to reassure the patients that the quality of care will remain high. Introduce new staff members promptly and encourage continuity by maintaining consistent communication with patients about changes in the practice. Managing employees during the transition of a dental practice requires careful planning, clear communication, and a focus on stability. Retaining key team members like hygienists and the office manager is critical to maintaining patient relationships and ensuring the continued smooth operation of the practice. By meeting with employees before closing, reassuring them about their job security, and preparing for potential turnover, you can help that the transition is as seamless as possible. In the following chapters, we will continue to explore strategies for successfully taking over a dental practice, focusing on patient retention, marketing, and long-term growth. Real estate essentials. When acquiring a dental practice, one of the critical considerations is the real estate where the practice operates. The location and physical space of your practice play a significant role in patient retention, daily operations, and overall practice value. Whether you choose to rent or buy the building, understanding the terms of the lease or the implications of purchasing the property is essential to making an informed decision that aligns with your long-term goals. This chapter will explore the key aspects of real estate considerations during a practice acquisition, including lease terms, the pros and cons of renting versus buying, and strategies for ensuring stability in your new practice location. Understanding lease terms. Stability is key. If the dental practice you're purchasing is in a rented space, understanding and negotiating favorable lease terms is crucial. The lease agreement outlines your rights and responsibilities as a tenant and has a direct impact on the stability and profitability of your practice. One of the most important factors to consider is the length of the lease term. Ideally, you should ensure that the lease will be valid for at least 5 years after the sale. A lease term of this length provides stability, allowing you to focus on growing the practice without disruption of relocating. Moving a dental practice can lead to significant patient loss, as many patients may choose to seek care closer to the original location or may simply be unsettled by the change. Ensuring that your lease will continue for several years after the acquisition gives you the security needed to build patient loyalty and establish yourself as the new owner. When reviewing the lease, pay close attention to renewal options. These options give you the right to extend the lease beyond the initial term, often under predefined conditions. Renewal options are valuable because they provide flexibility and the ability to remain in the same location without renegotiating entirely new lease terms. Additionally, examine clauses related to rent increases, maintenance responsibilities, and any restrictions on how you can use or modify the space. Understanding these terms up front will help you avoid unpleasant surprises down the road. Renting versus buying, weighing your options. One of the fundamental decisions you'll need to make is whether to rent or buy the building where the practice is located. Both options have their advantages and disadvantages, and the right choice depends on your financial situation, long-term plans, and the specifics of the property in question. Renting. Renting the building where your practice operates offers several benefits, particularly in terms of flexibility and lower upfront costs. When you rent, you avoid the significant financial commitment required to purchase real estate, freeing up capital that can be invested in the practice itself. Renting also allows for greater flexibility if you anticipate future changes in the practice's location or size. Renting the building where your practice operates means you have fewer responsibilities when it comes to maintenance and repairs. Unlike owning, where you are responsible for major repairs such as replacing the roof, HVAC systems, or other significant infrastructure issues, renting typically places these burdens on the landlord. This can save you considerable time, stress, and money, allowing you to focus more on growing your practice and less on managing the upkeep of the property. However, renting comes with certain risks, particularly the potential for rent increases or the possibility that the landlord may decide not to renew the lease. This can create uncertainty and could force a relocation, which, as mentioned earlier, can result in patient loss. Additionally, as a tenant, you have limited control over the property and may be restricted in how you can modify or improve the space. Buying. Purchasing the building where your practice is located can be a sound long-term investment. When you own the property, you gain full control over the space, allowing you to make improvements, expand, or modify the practice to suit your needs without needing landlord approval. Additionally, owning the building can provide financial benefits, such as building equity over time and potentially enjoying tax advantages related to property ownership. However, buying a building requires a substantial upfront investment, which can be challenging if you are also financing the purchase of the dental practice. Securing a loan for both the practice and the property simultaneously can be difficult, particularly for first-time buyers or those with limited capital reserves. Furthermore, property ownership comes with additional responsibilities, such as maintenance, property taxes, and the potential challenges of selling the property if you ever decide to relocate the practice. Seller as landlord. In some cases, the practice owner may also own the building where the practice operates. This scenario can present a unique opportunity for both parties. If the seller is interested in remaining the landlord, you can negotiate a lease agreement that allows you to rent the space while still owning the practice. This arrangement can be advantageous for several reasons. First, it may allow for a smoother transition as the seller is already familiar with the property and may be more flexible in accommodating your needs as the new practice owner. Second, it can provide stability, particularly if the seller is committed to maintaining a long-term landlord-tenant relationship. Third, this arrangement can reduce the financial burden of the acquisition as you won't need to secure financing for both the practice and the property simultaneously. However, it's important to approach this arrangement with clear expectations and a well-defined lease agreement. Ensure that the lease terms are favorable and that you have options for renewal or even purchasing the property at a later date if your financial situation allows. Additionally, consider how this arrangement might impact your relationship with the seller, as they will continue to have a stake in the practice's physical location. Ensuring long-term stability. Whether you choose to rent or buy, the overarching goal should be to ensure long-term stability for your practice. The location and physical space of the practice are integral to patient retention and the overall success of your business. When negotiating lease terms or considering a property purchase, prioritize agreements that provide security, flexibility, and control over your practice environment. If you're renting, focus on securing a lease with a long-term favorable renewal option and clear terms regarding rent increases and maintenance responsibilities. If you're buying, ensure that the property is a sound investment that aligns with your long-term goals, and consider how property ownership will impact your practice's financial health. Real estate brokers. When renting a space for your dental practice, it can be highly beneficial to work with a real estate broker who specializes in dental or medical properties. These brokers have in-depth knowledge of the specific needs of dental practices, such as zoning requirements, space configurations, and the importance of visibility and accessibility for patients. One of the major advantages of working with a broker is that their fees are typically paid by the landlord, meaning their services come at no direct cost to you. This makes it a cost-effective way to ensure you're getting the best possible deal. A knowledgeable broker can negotiate on your behalf to secure favorable lease terms, such as tenant improvement allowances, rent abatements, or renewal options that protect your long-term interests. Moreover, having a broker who understands the intricacies of dental practice operations can be invaluable during the lease negotiation process. They can advocate for lease clauses that address specific needs like installation of specialized equipment, soundproofing, and ensuring adequate plumbing and electrical setups. By leveraging their expertise, you can avoid common pitfalls and secure a lease that supports the success of your practice from day one. Real estate is a critical component of dental practice ownership, and the decisions you make regarding your practice's location can have far-reaching implications for its success. Whether you decide to rent or buy, it's essential to thoroughly understand the terms of your lease or purchase agreement and to ensure that your practice's location will remain stable for years to come. By carefully evaluating your options and considering both your short-term needs and long-term goals, you can make informed real estate decisions that support the growth and success of your dental practice. Avoiding common pitfalls. Acquiring a dental practice is an exciting and potentially rewarding venture, but it also comes with its share of risks, from financial missteps to operational challenges. Several common pitfalls can jeopardize the success of your new practice if not properly managed. In this chapter, we will explore these risks in detail and provide practical strategies to help you avoid them. By understanding these potential challenges and proactively addressing them, you can mitigate risks and set your practice up for long-term success. Pitfall number 1. Overestimating future revenue. One of the most common financial pitfalls in acquiring a dental practice is overestimating future revenue. It's easy to assume that the practice's current revenue will continue or even grow under your ownership, but this isn't always the case. For example, patient attrition during the transition period can lead to a drop in revenue, especially if patients are wary of changes in ownership or if key staff members leave. Additionally, if the practice's revenue is heavily reliant on a small number of high-value patients, losing even one or two of these patients can have a significant impact on your bottom line. How to avoid it. Conduct a thorough analysis of the practice's revenue streams during due diligence. Look at the diversity of the patient base, the frequency of visits, and the percentage of revenue generated by key procedures. Consider conservative revenue projections that account for potential patient loss and other uncertainties. This approach will help you set realistic financial expectations and avoid overextending yourself based on overly optimistic projections. Pitfall number 2, underestimating expenses. Another common financial pitfall is underestimating the ongoing expenses of running the practice. This can include everything from payroll and utilities to supplies, equipment maintenance, and marketing costs. For example, if the practice's equipment is older, you may face unexpected repair or replacement costs. Additionally, if you plan to implement new technologies or expand services, these initiatives will require investment. How to avoid it. Create a detailed budget that accounts for all potential expenses, including those that may not be immediately apparent. During due diligence, review the practice's historical expense data and consult with your accountant to identify any areas where costs might increase after the transition. Factor in a cushion for unforeseen expenses so you're not caught off guard by unexpected costs. Pitfall number 3, losing key staff members. One of the most significant operational risks during the transition is losing key staff members, such as hygienists, the office manager, or other long-term employees. These individuals are often the backbone of the practice, and their departure can lead to operational disruptions and a loss of patient confidence. For example, if a trusted hygienist leaves, patients who are particularly attached to that individual may decide to follow them to another practice. How to avoid it. Engage with key staff members early in the transition process, ideally before the sale is finalized. Reassure them of their job security and make it clear that you value their contribution to the practice. Consider offering retention bonuses or other incentives to encourage them to stay on during and after the transition. Additionally, be transparent about any changes you plan to make and involve them in the process to foster a sense of ownership and continuity. Pitfall number 4, patient attrition. Patient attrition is another common pitfall that can significantly impact your practice's success. Patients may be wary of the change in ownership and may choose to seek care elsewhere if they feel uncertain about the new management. This risk is particularly high if there are noticeable changes in the practice's operations, staff, or overall atmosphere. How to avoid it? Communicate openly with patients about the transition. Send a letter or email from both of you and the seller, reassuring the patients that their care will be continued uninterrupted and that the practice's value and quality of care will remain consistent. Introduce yourself as the new owner and emphasize your commitment to maintaining and enhancing their experience. If possible, maintain consistency in the patient's experience by keeping appointments, procedures, billing processes, and office decor the same initially, gradually implementing new changes over time. Pitfall number 5, overlooking compliance requirements. Compliance with healthcare regulations is a critical aspect of running a dental practice. Overlooking compliance issues, whether regulatory to patient privacy, occupational safety, or other regulatory requirements, can lead to significant legal and financial consequences. For example, failing to properly handle patient records during the transition could result in a HIPAA violation, leading to fines and damage to the practice's reputation. How to avoid it? Work closely to ensure that the practice is fully compliant with all relevant regulations. Review current practices related to patient record handling, sterilization procedures, and workplace safety. If any areas of non-compliance are identified, address them immediately and establish a plan for ongoing compliance management. Additionally, invest in staff training to ensure that everyone is aware and adheres to the necessary regulations. Pitfall number 6, inadequate legal protections. Another legal pitfall is failing to ensure that all contracts related to the acquisition, including the purchase agreement, lease, and employment contracts, are thoroughly reviewed and adequately protect your interests. For example, if the lease agreement doesn't include a renewal option, you could be forced to relocate the practice after a few years, potentially leading to patient loss. How to avoid it? Have all contracts reviewed by an experienced lawyer who specializes in dental practice acquisitions. Ensure that the purchase agreement includes clear terms regarding the transfer of assets, liabilities, and patient records. If renting, negotiate favorable lease terms that include options for renewal and clear responsibilities for maintenance and repairs. Make sure that the employment contracts with key staff are updated and align with your expectations as the new owner. Pitfall number 7, neglecting long-term strategic planning. Once the acquisition is complete, it's easy to focus solely on maintaining the status quo, but failing to plan for growth can limit the practice's potential. For example, relying too heavily on existing patients without implementing strategies to attract new ones can lead to stagnation, particularly if the local market becomes more competitive. How to avoid it? Develop a long-term strategic plan that includes goals for patient growth, service expansion, and marketing. Consider how you can differentiate your practice from competitors, whether through advanced technology, specialized services, or enhanced patient experiences. Regularly review and update your strategic plan to ensure that the practice continues to thrive in a changing market. Pitfall number 8, overextending financially without strategic justification. Another strategic pitfall is overextending financially by investing in unnecessary or premature expansions, renovations, or technology upgrades. For instance, purchasing expensive new equipment without a clear understanding of how it will contribute to increased revenue or patient satisfaction can strain your finances without providing the expected return on investment. How to avoid it? Prioritize investments based on their potential to enhance patient care, improve efficiencies, or attract new patients. Work with your accountant and buyer's advocate to evaluate the financial impact of any major expenditures and ensure that they align with your overall strategic goals. Avoid making impulse decisions based upon industry trends or pressure from sales representatives without a thorough analysis of how these investments will benefit your practice. Proactive risk management for success. Mitigating risks during the acquisition and operation of a dental practice requires careful planning, due diligence, and strategic decision-making. By being aware of common pitfalls and taking proactive steps to address them, you can avoid costly mistakes and ensure a smoother transition into practice ownership. From financial planning and staff retention to legal compliance and strategic growth, each aspect of risk management plays a vital role in the long-term success of your practice. In the next chapter, we'll delve into the patient retention strategies, ensuring that your practice not only survives, but thrives after the transition. The final steps: successfully closing the transaction. After months of preparation, due diligence, and negotiations, you finally reach the last stage of acquiring your dental practice, closing the transaction. This chapter will guide you through the critical steps leading up to and including the closing day, focusing on the importance of finalizing the asset purchase agreement, preparing for the transition, and ensuring a smooth handover. Successfully closing the transaction is not just about signing documents, it's about setting the stage for your new role as a practice owner. Finalizing the asset purchase agreement. The asset purchase agreement is the cornerstone of the transaction, legally transferring ownership of the practice's assets from the seller to you, the buyer. By this stage, the APA will have gone through several revisions as your lawyer works to ensure that the document accurately reflects the terms agreed upon during negotiations and protects your interest. Revisions with the lawyer. Your lawyer plays a critical role in the finalization of the APA. This process involves carefully reviewing the document to ensure that all terms are clear, enforceable, and aligned with your understanding of the deal. Key elements that your lawyer will focus on include asset transfer, ensuring that all practice assets, including patient records, equipment, supplies, and intellectual property, are clearly listed and accurately described. Liability assumptions, clarifying which liabilities, if any, you will assume and which remain with the seller to avoid any unexpected financial obligations. Warranties and representations, ensuring that the seller provides accurate warranties and representations about the condition of the assets, financial health of the practice, and compliance with relevant laws. Transition period and seller's role, defining any role the seller will play during the transition period, whether as a consultant, associate, or in advisory capacities. Non-compete clauses, terms and conditions. Protecting your investment is a critical consideration during the acquisition process, and one of the most effective ways to do this is by ensuring that the seller agrees to a non-compete clause in the asset purchase agreement. This clause prevents the seller from operating a competing dental practice within a specific geographic radius and for a defined period after the sale. The purpose of a non-compete clause is to safeguard the goodwill and patient base that you are purchasing, ensuring that the seller does not undermine your new practice by drawing patients away to a nearby location. The specifics of a non-compete clause can vary depending on the size of the practice and its location. For a large dental practice, it's common to negotiate a non-compete period of about 5 years. This duration is generally sufficient to allow you to establish yourself as the new owner, build relationships with the existing patient base, and attract new patients without the risk of immediate competition from the seller. The geographic scope of the non-compete clause is equally important and should be carefully considered based on whether the practice is located in a metropolitan area or a rural setting. Metropolitan areas. In a densely populated urban or suburban area, a typical non-compete radius might range from 10 to 15 miles. This distance is usually enough to prevent the seller from opening a competing practice that could easily draw away patients, considering the higher population density and the proximity of dental practices within cities and suburbs. Rural areas. In contrast, for practices located in rural or less densely populated regions, the non-compete radius often needs to be broader, typically ranging from 25 to 50 miles or larger. The larger radius accounts for the fact that patients in rural areas may be accustomed to traveling greater distances for dental care. Therefore, a more extensive non-compete zone is necessary to effectively protect your patient base and prevent the seller from setting up a competing practice that could impact your newly acquired business. Throughout this process, it's essential to maintain open communication with your lawyer. If any revisions or concerns arise, address them promptly to avoid delays. Remember, the APA should be comprehensive. It should also be clear and understandable to both parties. Your lawyer will help strike the right balance between legal protection and practical usability. Closing day, the big event. Once the APA is finalized and both parties are satisfied with the terms, you're ready to move forward to closing day. Closing day is when all documents are signed, funds are transferred, and ownership of the practice officially changes hands. This day marks the culmination of all your efforts, but it's also the beginning of your journey as a practice owner. On closing day, you will meet with the seller, your lawyer, and any other relevant parties, such as the lender, to finalize the transaction. The following steps typically occur. Signing the APA. Both you and the seller will sign the finalized APA, officially transferring ownership of the practice's assets over to you. Transfer of funds. The purchase price will be paid, typically via wire transfer, and the seller will receive the agreed upon amount. The payment includes the funds for the practice and any working capital you've arranged. Transfer of assets. You'll receive the keys to the practice, access to the patient records, and any other assets specified in the APA. Handing over operations. The seller will officially hand over control of the practice to you, including any final instructions or handovers that need to occur. Preparing for a smooth transition. Closing day is an exciting time, but it's also critical to ensure that the transition is smooth and minimally disruptive to the practice's operations. One key consideration is whether or not to close the practice temporarily during the transition. Some practice buyers choose to close the practice for a short period, such as a week, around the time of closing. This closure allows time for setup and transition, updating signage, rebranding materials, installing new software or equipment, and generally preparing the practice for your ownership. Staff training. Conducting any necessary staff meetings or training sessions to ensure that everyone is on the same page moving forward. Patient communication. Ensuring that all patient communications are updated to reflect the change in ownership, including website updates, social media, and direct patient outreach. If you decide to close the practice temporarily, it can be beneficial to schedule a closing date before a holiday or during a time when the previous owner had previously planned a vacation. This strategy minimizes the impact on patients and staff, making the closure less noticeable. However, if closing the practice isn't feasible, consider a soft transition where you take over operations with minimal disruption, gradually implementing changes over time. Setting the closing date. Timing is everything when it comes to closing a dental practice acquisition. Choosing the right closing date can help ensure a smooth transition with minimal impact on patients and staff. Here are a few factors to consider. Align with practice schedules. If the seller already has a planned vacation or holiday closure, aligning your closing date with this period can allow for a seamless transition without additional disruption. Allow for setup time. If you're anticipating needing time to implement changes, choose a closing date that gives you enough time before you need to reopen. This might involve closing on a Friday and using the weekend to make necessary updates. Financial considerations. Work with your lender to ensure that all funds are ready for transfer on the closing date. Aligning the date and the end of a financial period might also make record keeping and tax preparation easier. The start of your new journey. Successfully closing the transaction marks the official beginning of your journey as a dental practice owner. While the process leading up to this point is complex, careful preparation, collaboration with your advisors, and strategic planning will ensure that the transition is smooth and that you're well positioned to lead your new practice to success. Remember that closing is not just an endpoint, it's the start of a new chapter in your career. As you take the reins, focus on maintaining stability, building strong relationships with your staff and patients, and gradually implementing your vision for the practice. With the transaction behind you, you can now fully dedicate yourself to the exciting and rewarding tasks of growing your dental practice. Part 3. Practice Ownership. Early practice ownership, setting the foundation. The transition from acquiring a dental practice to taking on the responsibilities of ownership is both exhilarating and daunting. The first few days on the job will be intense as you navigate the new challenges and responsibilities that come with being the owner. However, it's important to remember that this is the initial chaos that will settle over time, and with the right approach, you can build a strong foundation for your practice's long-term success. Embrace the learning curve and lean on your team. As you step into your new role, you'll likely feel the pressure to prove yourself and take charge. It's natural to want to make your mark right away, but it's equally important to recognize that there will be a steep learning curve. The key to navigating these early days is to lean on the experience and knowledge of your existing team members. If you're fortunate enough to have a seasoned team in place, take full advantage of their expertise. Your team knows the ins and outs of the practice, including the nuances of patient care, office management, and daily operations. By listening to their insights and observing how things are currently done, you can gain a deeper understanding of why certain processes are in place. This approach will help you make informed decisions when the time comes to introduce changes. During the first few days, prioritize building relationships with your staff. Hold informal meetings or one-on-one conversations to get to know them better. Understand their roles and learn about their concerns and ideas. This will not only help you establish rapport, but also provide you with valuable insights that can guide your approach to managing the practice. Resist the urge to change everything at once. One of the most common mistakes new practice owners make is trying to change too many things right away. You may have a clear vision of how you want to run your practice, but it's important to resist the temptation to implement sweeping changes on day one. Instead, focus on observing and learning how the practice operates under its current systems. While it's tempting to put your stamp on the practice immediately, making too many changes at once can create confusion and disrupt the flow of operations. More importantly, you may later discover that some of the existing practices and procedures, which didn't initially make sense to you, were actually in place for good reasons. When I purchased my first practice, I made the mistake of trying to change too many things too quickly. It wasn't until I later realized the value of some of the established systems that I had initially dismissed. The best approach is to keep things as they are for the first few months. This gives you time to fully understand the existing workflows, observe the impact of your presence on the team, and identify key changes that are truly necessary. As you become more familiar with the practice, you can then start to introduce changes gradually, allowing your team and patients to adapt smoothly. Make strategic changes when necessary. While it's advisable to hold off on most changes, there are certain areas where immediate action may be necessary, particularly if the practice is not using modern practice management software or digital radiographs. If the practice is still relying on outdated systems such as paper charts or old school x-rays, it's worth upgrading these systems as soon as possible. Investing in modern practice management software and digital radiographs will not only improve efficiency, but also ensure that you're not burdened with maintaining old paper charts and records. Starting fresh with digital records will make it easier to access patient information, streamline workflows, and enhance the overall patient experience. That said, even these updates should be handled carefully. Communicate clearly with your team about the reasons for these changes and provide them with the necessary training and support to make the transition as smooth as possible. This will help minimize disruption and ensure that everyone is on board with the new systems. Patience is key. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Running a dental practice is a marathon, not a sprint. The early days of ownership are just the beginning of a long journey. It's important to pace yourself, remain patient, and focus on building a strong foundation for the future. As you navigate the challenges of early ownership, remind yourself that it's okay to take things one step at a time. There will be moments of stress and uncertainty, but by staying calm and methodical, you can overcome these obstacles and create a thriving practice. Take time to celebrate small wins along the way, whether it's a successful first week, positive feedback from a patient, or a productive meeting with your team. These moments will keep you motivated and reinforce the progress you're making. Remember that the ultimate goal is to build a practice that not only reflects your vision, but also serves your patients and supports your team. By approaching early ownership with a steady hand, an open mind, and a willingness to learn, you'll be well on your way to creating a successful and sustainable dental practice. Target numbers for income and expenses. Understanding the financial dynamics of running a dental practice is crucial for long-term success. One of the most important concepts for new dental practice owners to grasp is overhead. How much it costs to run the practice, and how much they should be making in relation to those expenses. This chapter will break down the main categories that contribute to overhead, providing target percentages and ranges based on various factors like practice size and location, and offer insights into the expected income levels for dentists at different stages of practice growth. Overhead. Overhead refers to the ongoing expenses required to run a dental practice. These are the costs that must be covered before the practice generates profit. Understanding and maintaining overhead is key to ensuring that your practice is financially healthy. A well-run dental practice typically has an overhead percentage that ranges between 50 and 65% of gross revenue, meaning that for every dollar earned, 50 to 65 cents goes towards covering expenses. Major categories of overhead. Staff salaries and benefits, 25 to 30%. Dental supplies, 5 to 7%. Lab fees, 5 to 10%. Facility costs, 5 to 10%. Equipment costs, 3 to 5%. Marketing and advertising, 3 to 5%. administrative costs, 2 to 5%, miscellaneous costs, 2 to 5%. Let's delve into each category, discussing the target percentages, what they include, and how they can vary based on practice size, location, and other factors. Team salaries and benefits, 25 to 30% of gross revenue. Team member salaries and benefits typically represent the largest portion of a practice's overhead. This category includes wages for dental hygienists, assistants, administrative staff, and other employees, as well as benefits like health insurance, retirement plans, and bonuses. For most practices, staff salaries and benefits should amount to about 25 to 30% of gross revenue. For example, if your practice generates $1 million annually, you should expect to spend between $250,000 and $300,000 on staff-related expenses. However, this percentage can vary depending on the practice's size and location. In urban areas with higher living costs, you might find this percentage creeping towards the upper end of the range, while rural practices might manage to stay closer to 25%. It's important to regularly review team productivity and adjust staffing levels as necessary. Overstaffing can inflate this percentage, while understaffing can lead to burnout and decreased patient satisfaction. To ensure that your practice remains competitive and continues to attract top talent, it's advisable to regularly review local job postings and engage in conversations with other dentists in your area. These steps can provide valuable insights into current salary trends and help you determine fair and appropriate compensation for your employees, allowing you to maintain a motivated and loyal team while keeping your practice financially healthy. It is vital not to lower salaries during the transition period, as doing so could lead to losing key team members, particularly hygienists who might take patients with them to their next job. It's much better to have slightly higher overhead than risk losing patients, as the long-term costs of losing a skilled hygienist could far outweigh the short-term savings. Dental supplies, 5 to 7% of gross revenue. Dental supplies are the consumables used in daily operations, such as gloves, masks, dental materials, sterilization products, and other clinical necessities. The cost of dental supplies should generally be kept within 5 to 7% of gross revenue. For instance, if your practice generates $800,000 annually, you should budget between $40,000 and $56,000 for dental supplies. Practices in competitive markets or those using high-end materials may experience slightly higher supply costs, while those with strong vendor relationships and bulk purchasing strategies can keep these costs at the lower end of the range. It's crucial to monitor supply usage closely and avoid waste. Implementing inventory management systems can ensure that supplies are ordered efficiently and that costs remain within the target range. When it comes to managing the cost of dental supplies, practice owners have a variety of options. Sites like Net32 offer dental supplies at significantly lower prices compared to larger, well-known dental retailers such as Henry Schein or Patterson Dental. These online platforms operate by aggregating products from various vendors, allowing you to purchase everything from gloves to masks to more specialized dental materials at a fraction of the costs you'd typically pay through traditional suppliers. For example, a box of nitrile gloves might cost $10 through a large dental retailer, but could be available on Net32 for as little as $6. Over time, these savings can add up significantly, potentially reducing your dental supplies overhead from, say, 7% of gross revenue down to 5% or even lower. For a practice generating $1 million annually, this could translate to a savings of $20,000 or more each year, which directly boosts profitability. However, the lower prices offered by these sites come with certain trade-offs that are worth considering. One of the main differences is the level of service and support. Larger dental supply companies like Henry Schein or Patterson often provide dedicated supply representatives who can offer personalized service, immediate assistance, and even on-site visits to address your needs. These reps can be invaluable, especially in a high-pressure environment where having the right supplies at the right time is crucial. For instance, if you run out of a key material unexpectedly or need a specific product for a complex procedure, having a supply rep on speed dial can make all the difference. They can expedite orders, provide expert recommendations, and sometimes even deliver supplies in person if time is of the essence. This level of service offers peace of mind knowing that you have a reliable partner to support your practice's operational needs. The convenience and immediate support provided by supply reps can justify the additional overhead for many dentists, particularly those who prioritize efficiency and the ability to respond quickly to unexpected situations. While online platforms can significantly reduce costs, they may not offer the same level of service, leaving you without immediate assistance when you need it most. Ultimately, the decision between purchasing supplies from a lower-cost online platform or sticking with a traditional dental supplier comes down to your practice's specific needs and priorities. If your practice operates smoothly with planned inventory and you have the capacity to manage supplies proactively, the cost savings from online purchases can be a substantial benefit. On the other hand, if you value the security and convenience of having a dedicated supply rep who understands your practice and can provide rapid support, the additional cost might be a worthwhile investment in maintaining uninterrupted patient care. It's also worth considering a hybrid approach where you purchase standard non-urgent supplies from lower-cost online sources while maintaining a relationship with a traditional supplier for more critical time-sensitive items. This strategy allows you to enjoy the best of both worlds, cost savings on routine supplies and assurance of reliable service for high-priority needs. By carefully balancing cost and convenience, you can optimize your supply management and contribute to the overall financial health of your practice. Lab fees, 5 to 10% of gross revenue. Lab fees cover the cost of outsourced dental lab work, such as crowns, bridges, dentures, and other restorations. These fees can range from 5 to 10% of gross revenue, depending on the type and volume of services offered by the practice. For example, in a practice with $600,000 in annual revenue, lab fees might range from $30,000 to $60,000. Practices that focus heavily on cosmetic dentistry or complex restorative procedures may see lab fees closer to the 10% mark, while those offering more general services might stay closer to 5%. Negotiating with dental labs for better rates or finding labs that offer high-quality work at competitive prices can help manage these costs. Negotiating with dental labs for better rates or finding labs that offer high-quality work at competitive prices can significantly help with these costs. Additionally, investing in a digital scanner for impressions can further reduce both lab bills and supply expenses. Digital impressions eliminate the need for traditional impression materials, which can be expensive, and streamline the workflow, allowing for faster turnaround times with labs. By integrating these strategies, you can effectively lower overhead while maintaining high standards of care, ultimately enhancing the profitability and efficiency of your practice. Facility costs, 5 to 10% of gross revenue. Facility costs include rent, utilities, property taxes, and maintenance expenses for the office space. These costs typically account for 5 to 10% of gross revenue, with the exact percentage largely dependent upon the practice's location. For instance, a practice with $500,000 in revenue might spend between $25,000 and $50,000 annually on facilitated related expenses. Urban practices, especially those in prime locations, will generally have higher facility costs, while rural practices or those in less expensive areas might find these costs closer to 5%. If you own the building, this category might also include mortgage payments, which could shift the percentage depending on the interest rates and loan terms. Equipment costs, 3 to 5% of gross revenue. Equipment costs include both the purchase and maintenance of dental equipment, such as chairs, x-ray machines, sterilization units, and other essential tools. This category generally accounts for 3 to 5% of gross revenue. For a practice generating $750,000 annually, equipment costs might range from $22,000 to $37,000. Newer practices or those undergoing upgrades may temporarily see higher equipment costs, but it's important to manage these expenses carefully to ensure they don't significantly exceed the 5% threshold. Financing options for large equipment purchases can help spread out costs and keep them within manageable limits. Marketing and advertising, 3 to 5% of gross revenue. Marketing and advertising are essential for attracting new patients and growing your practice. These costs typically represent 3 to 5% of gross revenue. This includes spending on digital marketing, social media, search engine optimization, print ads, and any other promotional activities. For a practice worth $400,000 in revenue, marketing expenses might range from $12,000 to $20,000 annually. Practices in highly competitive areas might need to invest more in marketing to stand out, while those with a strong patient referral base may spend less. Tracking the return on investment for marketing activities is crucial to ensure that your advertising dollars are well spent and that they continue to patient growth. Administrative costs, 2 to 5% of gross revenue. Administrative costs encompass a range of expenses, including office supplies, software subscriptions, insurance, and legal and accounting fees. This typically accounts for 2 to 5% of gross revenue. For example, a practice earning $900,000 might spend between $18,000 and $45,000 on administrative costs. These expenses can fluctuate based on the size of the practice and the complexity of operations. Streamlining administrative processes and negotiating better rates for services like insurance or software can help keep these costs under control. Miscellaneous costs, 2 to 5% of gross revenue. Miscellaneous costs include any other expenses not covered in the previous categories, such as continuing education, travel, or unexpected repairs. These costs typically represent 2 to 5% of gross revenue. For a practice with $700,000 in revenue, miscellaneous expenses might range from $14,000 to $35,000. It's important to maintain a buffer in your target for these costs, as they can vary from year to year. The number one way to reduce overhead. P.S. It's not buying less gauze. I once had a hygienist tell me about a dentist she worked for who limited her to just one piece of gauze per patient. Each piece costs about 5 cents, so this policy saved the practice maybe $20 a month, but the real cost? Compromised patient care and demoralized staff. Cotton rolls and gauze are essential for keeping the working area dry and clean while making procedures efficient. Skimping on something so basic just to save a few bucks is a perfect example of how to not manage overhead. Focus on growing revenue instead. The most effective way to improve your financial health is by focusing on growing production and increasing revenue. While controlling costs is necessary, the quickest and most impactful way to reduce your overhead percentage is not simply by cutting expenses, but significantly boosting your practice's income. Growing production can come from various strategies, such as increasing the number of patients, expanding services, or improving case acceptance rates. Each of these strategies contributes directly to revenue growth, which in turn improves your bottom line more effectively than attempting to cut costs alone. If you add new services like cosmetic dentistry, clear aligners, or implants, you can attract more patients or increase the value of each visit. Even increasing patient visits by a modest amount, say adding just one more patient per day, can have a significant impact over the course of a year. Consider a practice where each patient generates $400 in revenue. By adding just one more patient per day, $400 per patient times 5 days per week times 50 weeks per year equals $100,000 in additional revenue. This additional revenue not only enhances profitability, but also reduces the overhead percentage, as the fixed costs of running the practice, rent, utilities, staff salaries, are now spread across a larger revenue base. While cost control remains a vital aspect of managing a dental practice, the real key to reducing overhead and increasing profitability lies in boosting production. By focusing on revenue growth, whether through expanding services, increasing patient numbers, or improving operational efficiency, you can reduce the impact of overhead on your bottom line and create a more robust, financially healthy practice. Practice growth strategies. As you settle into your role as a dental practice owner, one of your primary goals will be to grow the practice. While this chapter won't cover every possible growth strategy, it will provide you with some solid ideas to get you thinking about how to expand your practice effectively. Growth doesn't have to be complicated. Sometimes it's about doing the basics well and consistently. Here are 10 strategies to help you get started. Strategy number 1, diagnosis and case acceptance. One of the simplest yet most effective ways to grow your practice is to focus on diagnosing and treating regular general dentistry cases. This approach, while fundamental, is often overlooked, especially if the previous owner of the practice was nearing retirement and had slowed down on diagnosis and treatment planning. Over time, it's not uncommon for a practice to accumulate a backlog of untreated conditions, as the seller may have been using outdated radiograph equipment or simply lacked the energy to maintain a proactive approach to patient care. For instance, there might be numerous patients with large MODBL fillings that have decay at the margins, conditions that would benefit from being replaced with crowns. These issues might have gone unnoticed or unaddressed, creating an opportunity for you to step in and provide the necessary treatment. Don't be afraid to create comprehensive treatment plans for these patients. By thoroughly examining your patient's records and conducting up-to-date evaluations, you can uncover these untreated conditions and address them, not only improving the patient's oral health, but also significantly boosting your practice's production. However, Diagnosing these issues is only half the battle. The real growth comes from improving case acceptance, ensuring that when you present a treatment plan to a patient, they agree to proceed with it. Improving case acceptance involves several strategies. Patients are more likely to accept treatment plans when they trust their dentist. Taking the time to build rapport with your patients, listening to their concerns, and explain why the recommended treatments are necessary. Be transparent about the potential risks of delaying or avoiding treatment and discuss the long-term benefits of addressing issues early. When patients feel heard and understood, they are more likely to trust your judgment and follow through with your recommendations. Clear communication is essential for improving case acceptance. Avoid using technical jargon that might confuse or intimidate patients. Instead, explain the diagnosis and treatment plan in simple, understandable terms. Use visual aids like intraoral cameras or digital radiographs to show patients exactly what's going on in their mouths. When patients can see the problems for themselves, they're more likely to understand the need for treatment and agree to it. Cost is often a major barrier to case acceptance, so it's important to present financial options that make treatment planning more accessible. Offer flexible payment plans, work with patients to maximize their insurance benefits, and clearly outline the costs involved. By removing financial obstacles and providing a clear path to payment, you can help patients feel more comfortable proceeding with necessary treatments. After presenting a treatment plan, don't just leave it at that. Follow up with the patients. A simple phone call or email to check if they have any questions or concerns can make a big difference in whether they decide to move forward. Sometimes patients need time to think about their options, and a little nudge or reassurance can be all it takes to convert a hesitant patient into one who's ready to proceed with treatment. Be prepared to address common objections patients may have, such as concerns about pain, time, or cost. Offer solutions like discussing sedation options for anxious patients, proposing convenient appointment times, or breaking down the treatment into phases to spread out the cost. By addressing these objections proactively, you can overcome the barriers that prevent patients from accepting treatment. Make the treatment process as smooth and convenient as possible, ensuring that your schedule is efficient, that patients don't have to wait long for appointments, and that all aspects of their visits from the initial consultation to the final follow-up are handled professionally and courteously. A well-organized practice that respects patients' time and comfort is more likely to see higher case acceptance rates. Strategy number 2, add new procedures. When purchasing a dental practice from a retiring dentist, it's not uncommon to find that the previous owner had gradually limited their scope of practice to a smaller number of procedures. This narrowing of service often happens for a variety of reasons. As dentists approach retirement, they may reduce their workload to avoid the physical and mental strain associated with more complex or time-consuming procedures. Additionally, they might have avoided investing in continuing education or new technologies, sticking instead to the procedures that they were most comfortable performing. This can result in a practice that primarily offers basic general dentistry services such as cleanings, fillings, and simple restorative work, while referring out more complex cases like extractions, orthodontics, or implant placements. This limitation in service offerings can create significant opportunities for you as the new owner. By expanding the range of procedures offered in-house, you can immediately increase the value you provide to your patients, leading to a higher case acceptance, greater patient satisfaction, and increased revenue. For example, if the previous dentist referred out all cases requiring clear aligners, extractions, or dental implants, there's a good chance that many patients who were referred may never have followed through with the recommended treatment. They may have been reluctant to visit another provider or found it inconvenient to travel to another office. By bringing these procedures in-house, you can capture that lost revenue and provide a more comprehensive service to your patients. Consider the potential impact of adding clear aligners to your practice. Many patients, especially adults, are interested in improving their smile, but may not pursue traditional orthodontic due to the visibility of braces or the inconvenience of multiple referrals. Offering clear aligners allows you to provide a solution that's both discreet and convenient, increasing the likelihood that patients will accept treatment. Similarly, if the previous dentist didn't offer extractions or dental implants, these are services that you could introduce to meet patient demand. Dental implants, in particular, represent a significant revenue opportunity. Patients who have been living with missing teeth might be interested in this long-term solution, but were never offered it as an option because the previous dentist didn't perform the procedure. Adult fluoride treatments and sealants offer significant benefits for patients, and incorporating these services into your practice can also be a valuable growth strategy. While traditionally associated with pediatric care, fluoride treatments and sealants are increasingly recognized for their advantages in adult dental health. Fluoride treatment helps to strengthen enamel, making it more resistant to decay, and can be particularly beneficial for adults who are at higher risk of cavities due to factors such as dry mouth, gum recession, or a history of dental work. Sealants, typically used to protect the grooves of molars in children, can also be applied to adult teeth to prevent decay in areas that are difficult to clean thoroughly with brushing and flossing alone. By offering these preventive treatments, you not only enhance your patient's long-term oral health, but also provide additional services that contribute to the growth and profitability of your practice. Educating patients on the benefits of these treatments can increase acceptance rates and improve their overall dental care outcomes. Strategy 3, optimize Google Maps and online reviews. Having a strong online presence is crucial in today's market. Make sure your practice is listed on Google Maps and actively encourage patients to leave a positive review. Positive reviews not only enhance your reputation, but also improve your visibility in local search results. There are software solutions available that automatically send patients a link to leave a review after their visit, making it easier to collect positive feedback. A steady stream of good reviews can significantly boost new patient inquiries. Strategy number 4, reactivating lapsed patients. One of the most effective and cost-efficient ways to grow your dental practice is by reactivating patients who have visited in the past 2 to 3 years but aren't currently scheduled for hygiene appointments. These patients are already familiar with your practice, which means you don't need to invest heavily in marketing to attract them. They simply need a gentle reminder to return. Reactivating these patients can significantly boost your practice's revenue, as regular visits often uncover new treatment needs ranging from simple cleanings to more complex restorative work. By focusing on bringing these lapsed patients back into the fold, you can increase your practice's productivity without the additional cost associated with acquiring new patients. Utilizing your practice management software is key to effectively identifying and reactivating these patients. Most modern systems allow you to generate reports that highlight patients who haven't been in for a specific period, making it easy to see who might need a reminder. Once you have this list, you can implement a targeted outreach campaign to encourage them to schedule their next appointment. Personalized communication, whether through email, text message, or even a direct phone call, can be highly effective. Patients often appreciate the reminder, especially if it's framed as a concern for their ongoing oral health rather than just a scheduling notice. This personalized touch can help strengthen the patient-practice relationship, making them more likely to return. To further entice these patients back, considering offering special incentives like a discounted cleaning, a free fluoride treatment, or even a small gift for booking their next appointment. Special offers can serve as an extra nudge, making it more appealing for patients to return to your practice. Additionally, highlighting any new service or improvement in your practice, such as upgraded technology or expanded hours, can also motivate them to come back. By leveraging the existing patient base in this way, you can boost revenue and fill gaps in your schedule, all without the need for expensive external marketing campaigns. Strategy 5, encourage patient referrals. Word of mouth referrals are incredibly powerful. Be nice to people and they will recommend you to their friends and family. Encourage your current patients to refer others by offering incentives such as referral discounts or small thank you gifts. You can also implement a formal referral program that rewards both the referring patient and the new patient for choosing your practice. Strategy 6, improve patient communication. Keep patients engaged with their oral health by helping them stay on top of appointments and ongoing care needs. Proactively reaching out with appointment reminders, post-visit follow-ups, and educational content not only keeps your practice at the forefront of their minds, but also strengthens their trust in your commitment to their well-being. This level of attentive communication demonstrates that you genuinely care about their health, fostering long-term loyalty in your practice. Utilizing automated systems for reminders and recalls is an efficient way to manage ongoing communication. These systems can seamlessly send reminders via email, text, or phone, ensuring that no patient is overlooked. Beyond preventing missed appointments, regular outreach encourages patients to remain actively engaged in their oral health. Sharing educational content through newsletters, blog posts, or social media can offer valuable insights into maintaining good oral hygiene, emphasize the importance of regular checkups, and inform patients about new services your practice offers. This consistent flow of information keeps patients informed and motivated to prioritize their dental care, leading to better health outcomes and a thriving practice. Strategy 7, invest in continuing education. As the practice owner, your skills and knowledge are critical to the practice's growth. Invest in continuing education to expand your expertise in areas that are in demand, such as advanced cosmetic procedures, implantology, or orthodontics. Not only does this allow you to offer more services, but it also positions you as a leader in your field, attracting patients who are looking for the latest and best in dental care. Strategy 8, enhance the patient experience. Patient experience is a crucial factor in both retaining current patients and attracting new ones, serving as the foundation for long-term practice growth. Every interaction a patient has with your practice contributes to their overall perception from the moment they walk through the door to the time they leave. To optimize this experience, it's essential to scrutinize every touch point in your practice. This includes everything from the ambiance of the waiting room to the friendliness of your front desk staff, and even the ease with which patients can book appointments online or over the phone. Small improvements can significantly enhance how patients feel about their visits. For example, offering complimentary coffee or water in the reception area can create a welcoming atmosphere, while upgrading your office decor to be more modern and comfortable can make the environment more inviting. Patients notice these details, and a pleasant environment can set a positive tone for their entire visit. Additionally, efforts to reduce wait times, whether by optimizing scheduling or streamlining office workflows, show respect for your patient's time, which they are likely to appreciate and remember. A consistently positive patient experience not only increases the likelihood of repeat visits, but also encourages word-of-mouth referrals, which are invaluable for practice growth. Satisfied patients are more likely to recommend your services to friends and family, becoming advocates for your practice. By focusing on delivering an exceptional experience at every stage of a patient's journey, you not only build loyalty, but also create a strong foundation for organic growth through patient referrals. Strategy 9, optimize insurance participation and reimbursement rates. Optimizing your practice's insurance participation and reimbursement rates is another critical strategy for growth. Often dentists inherit the insurance contracts and fee schedules established by the previous owner without realizing that there's room for improvement. However, you can often renegotiate these rates with insurance companies or join umbrella networks that offer you better payouts. This can lead to significant increases in revenue without changing the volume of patients or procedures. Negotiate higher reimbursement rates. Many dentists are unaware that insurance reimbursement rates are not set in stone. By negotiating with insurance companies, you can often secure higher reimbursement rates for the services you provide. This might involve demonstrating the quality of care you offer, the investments you've made in new technologies, or your willingness to align with their preferred provider networks. Even small increases in reimbursement rates can add up over time, especially when applied across a large volume of procedures. Join umbrella networks. Another strategy is to join an umbrella network that aggregates multiple insurance plans and offers higher reimbursement rates. These networks leverage their collective bargaining power to negotiate better rates with insurance companies, which can benefit your practice. By joining one of these networks, you can often see a significant boost in your revenue per procedure. Align with local employer plans. It's essential to ensure that your practice is in network with insurance plans used by local employers, especially if these companies are major employers in your area. Being in network with these plans can make your practice more attractive to potential patients who are looking for a provider that accepts their insurance. Conduct some research or reach out to HR departments at local businesses to identify the most common insurance plans in your area and make sure you're participating in them. Maximize production under each plan. Understanding the details of each insurance plan you participate in is crucial for maximizing your production. For example, certain plans may fully cover panoramic x-rays or full mouth x-rays at specific intervals. Knowing when you're eligible to perform these diagnostic services can increase the value of each patient visit. By staying on top of the coverage details and ensuring that you're billing for all eligible services, you can maximize the revenue generated from each insurance plan. Leverage practice management software. Utilize your practice management software to keep track of each patient's insurance benefits, eligibility, and remaining coverage for the year. This allows you to schedule treatments in a way that optimize reimbursement and ensure that patients are utilizing their benefits effectively. For example, if a patient's insurance plan is about to reset at the end of the year, you might encourage them to complete necessary treatments before they lose those benefits. Strategy 10, hire a practice coach. Another powerful strategy to grow your dental practice is to consider hiring a consultant or practice coach. While it might initially seem expensive to invest a few $1,000s per month in a consultant, the potential return on investments can be substantial. Consultants bring a wealth of experience and an outside perspective that can be invaluable in identifying opportunities for improvements and growth that you might not see from within the practice. They can help you streamline operations, enhance patient experience, and improve case acceptance, and introduce new revenue-generating services. Often, the insights provided by a skilled consultant can lead to revenue increases that far exceed the cost of their services, sometimes by tenfold or more. For example, a consultant might help you optimize your scheduling to increase patient flow, implement more effective treatment planning processes, or refine your marketing strategies and attract higher value patients. These changes can lead to a significant boost in practice profitability. Additionally, consultants often have industry benchmarks and best practices, allowing you to compare your performance against successful practices and make informed decisions on where to focus your efforts. Beyond just financial gains, a consultant or practice coach can also help alleviate some of the stress and challenges of running a dental practice. They can provide guidance on leadership, staff management, and long-term strategic planning, helping you build a more resilient and sustainable practice. In this way, the investment in a consultant not only enhances your practice's immediate financial performance, but also strengthens its foundations for future growth. Focus on consistent, steady growth. These 10 strategies are just a starting point to get you thinking about how to grow your practice. The key to success is consistency. Whether you're diagnosing more thoroughly, adding new procedures, or simply being more proactive in patient communication, steady efforts will yield long-term results. Remember, growth isn't about making drastic changes overnight, but about building on the solid foundation you've already established. By implementing these strategies, you'll be well on your way to expanding your practice, increasing your revenue, and securing your place as a leading dental provider in your community. Long-term success, strategic ownership, and exit planning. As you build and grow your dental practice, it's essential to keep an eye on the long-term picture, not just the day-to-day operations. Whether your goal is to maintain a single practice for your entire career or to buy, build, and eventually sell multiple practices, strategic ownership and exit planning are critical to maximizing your success and financial well-being. Let me share my personal experience in this area and offer insights into how you can achieve similar success. Building a seamless transition. When I purchased my first dental practice, I made a conscious decision to build it in a way that would make it attractive to future buyers. One of the key strategies I employed was to avoid putting my name on the building, in the practice's name, or in any of the marketing materials. My aim was to create a brand that could stand independently of me, making the practice less about the personality of the dentist and more about the quality of care it provided. I knew that one day I might want to sell the practice, and I wanted the transition to be as seamless as possible for both the new owner and the patients. This approach paid off. When the time came to sell, the transition was smooth, and the new owner didn't face the challenge of rebranding the practice or convincing patients to stay with a different dentist. The patients were already accustomed to a practice that wasn't tied to any one person, which made them more comfortable with the change. This strategy not only made the practice easier to sell, but also helped me secure a higher sale price because the practice was viewed as a strong, independent entity. Hiring associates, doubling down on growth. Another significant factor in building a practice that can be sold at a profit is the strategic hiring of associates. Bringing in an associate allows you to increase production without having to shoulder all of the work yourselves. More production means more revenue, which directly enhances the value of your practice. The benefits are twofold. Not only do you increase your current income, but you also make your practice more attractive and valuable to potential buyers when the time comes to sell. Associates also provide a built-in succession plan. If an associate is happy and thriving in your practice, they may be interested in buying it when you're ready to move on. This can create a smoother transition and provide peace of mind knowing that the practice will continue in good hands. Additionally, having an associate allows you to step back from some of the day-to-day responsibilities, giving you the flexibility to focus on other growth opportunities, whether that's expanding the current practice, investing in continuing education, or exploring new business ventures. Multiple practices versus one large practice. Strategic considerations. For many dentists, the idea of owning multiple practices is appealing, as it seems to promise greater income and the satisfaction of growing a dental empire. However, managing multiple practices simultaneously can be extremely challenging and often leads to burnout and reduced profitability. Many dentists find that spreading their attention across several locations dilutes their effectiveness and leads to issues with consistency in patient care, staff management, and overall practice performance. In some cases, what seems like a promising expansion can backfire, resulting in financial strain and operational deficiencies. A wiser strategy, especially for those looking to maximize profit and minimize risk, is to focus on building one large, successful practice before considering multiple locations. By concentrating your efforts on a single practice, you can ensure that it operates at peak efficiency, offering comprehensive services, and has a strong brand identity. This approach allows you to develop deep relationships with your patients and staff, resulting in higher patient retention, greater case acceptance, and ultimately a more valuable practice. However, if your long-term goal is to own multiple practices, a better strategy is to own them one at a time. You can buy a practice, grow it significantly, and then sell it at a profit before moving on to the next one. For example, you might purchase a practice for $400,000 to $500,000, invest time and effort into expanding its services, improving operations, and increasing patient volume, and then sell it for $1.5 to $2 million. This kind of growth doesn't have to take decades. With the right strategies and hard work, it's possible to achieve this level of success in as few as 3 to 4 years. Long-term vision: the path to multiple profitable exits. By strategically growing and selling practices, you can build substantial wealth over the course of your career. Each time you sell a practice, you gain experience, capital, and the insights that can be applied to your next venture. This cycle of buying, building, and selling practices allows you to create multiple income streams and take advantage of the appreciation in practice values over time. However, it's important to approach this strategy with a clear plan and realistic expectations. Not every practice will grow at the same rate, and there will be challenges along the way. The key is to remain flexible, stay informed about industry trends, and be willing to adapt your approach as needed. Whether you choose to build a single, large practice or pursue multiple profitable exits, the foundation of your success will be your ability to plan strategically and execute effectively. Preparing for a successful future in practice ownership. Owning a dental practice is more than just a career choice. It's a strategic investment in your future, both professionally and personally. The decisions made along the way shape the trajectory of your practice, your financial well-being, and your satisfaction in your career. With the right knowledge and tools, it's possible to navigate the complexities of practice ownership and set yourself up for long-term success. Choosing between starting a new practice from scratch or acquiring an existing one is one of the first critical decisions. Acquiring an existing practice offers a range of benefits: an established patient base, a proven location, and immediate cash flow. Careful evaluation of potential practices, including financials, patient demographics, and growth potentials, is essential. This is where having a trusted advisor like a buyer's advocate becomes invaluable, providing guidance and helping to avoid costly mistakes while ensuring that the practice is a sound investment. Once the practice is under your ownership, growth strategies become the focus. Expanding the range of services offered, optimizing insurance participation, and reactivating lapsed patients are effective ways to maximize the potential of the practice. Diagnosing and treating existing conditions not only increases revenue, but also improves patient care. Strategic planning and proactive management are the cornerstones of growth, areas where expert guidance can provide a significant advantage. Building a practice with long-term success in mind includes considerations for eventual resale. Whether the goal is to maintain a single practice for a lifetime or to buy, build, and sell multiple practices, having a clear exit strategy is essential. Experiences like keeping the practice's identity separate from personal branding can facilitate a smooth transition to a new owner, ultimately increasing the practice's value. Hiring associates and focusing on expanding services can further enhance practice value, making it more attractive to potential buyers. Expanding too quickly by owning multiple practices simultaneously often leads to operational challenges and diluted focus. A more effective approach may be to grow one practice at a time, building it to its full potential and then selling it for a profit. This strategy allows for maximizing returns on investment without overextending resources. Expert guidance is crucial in navigating these complexities, ensuring that each step is taken with a clear strategic approach. Success in practice ownership is not about perfection in every decision, but about making informed, strategic choices. The key is to anticipate challenges, seize opportunities, and adapt to changing circumstances. The importance of having expert guidance cannot be overstated, as it helps optimize strategies, avoid pitfalls, and ultimately achieve long-term success. The journey of practice ownership is about more than just managing a business. It's about building a legacy. Whether that legacy is a single thriving practice or a series of successful ventures, the decisions made today will set the stage for future achievements. With the right strategies, expert advice, and a focus on long-term goals, a successful and rewarding future in dental practice ownership is well within reach. Practice Ownership Advisors. As you reach the conclusion of this book, you're now equipped with the essential knowledge and insights to navigate the complex journey of purchasing a dental practice. From understanding financials to negotiating terms and managing the transition, this guide has provided a comprehensive framework to help you approach practice acquisition with confidence. However, when making such a significant investment, personalized guidance can be the key to transforming a good decision into a great one. This is where Practice Ownership Advisors comes in. While this book has laid out the general principles and strategies for acquiring a dental practice, there's no substitute for tailored advice that aligns with your unique circumstances, goals, and challenges. At Practice Ownership Advisors, we specialize in guiding dentists through every step of the acquisition process, ensuring that you're not only able to succeed in becoming a practice owner, but also able to thrive in your new role. Significant cost savings. One of the most compelling reasons to work with Practice Ownership Advisors is the potential for substantial cost savings. On average, our clients save between $40,000 to $60,000, sometimes even more, through our strategic guidance. Whether it's identifying overlooked opportunities during negotiations, uncovering hidden costs, or securing better financing terms, our expertise often results in savings that far exceed our fees. Accelerated acquisition process. Time is money, especially in the world of dentistry. The longer you remain an associate, the longer you delay the financial and professional rewards of ownership. At Practice Ownership Advisors, we're committed to helping you speed up the acquisition process, enabling you to become a practice owner sooner. By fast-tracking your transition, you can potentially earn hundreds of thousands of dollars more than if you had continued as an associate. This acceleration not only boosts your income, but also allows you to start building equity in your own practice much sooner. Personalized hands-on support. Every dentist's journey of ownership is unique. Whether you're buying your first practice or expanding your portfolio, our team at Practice Ownership Advisors provides personalized, hands-on support tailored to your specific needs. We work closely with you to understand your goals, assess potential practices, and navigate the intricacies of each transaction. Our approach is collaborative, ensuring that you're fully informed and confident at every stage of the process. We understand that purchasing a dental practice is one of the most significant decisions of your career. It's not just about the financial investment. It's about your professional future, your work-life balance, and your ability to deliver the highest standard of care to your patients. That's why we're dedicated to being your trusted partner throughout this journey. If you are ready to take the next step and want to explore how Practice Ownership Advisors can help you achieve your goals, we invite you to visit our website at practiceown.com. That's practiceown.com. Your journey to dental practice ownership doesn't have to be daunting. With the right guidance, it can be rewarding and transformative. We're here to ensure that you're not only buying a dental practice, but also building a thriving future as a successful dental entrepreneur. Hey, this is Chris. I hope you've enjoyed this audiobook. Look, you're never going to feel completely prepared to buy a practice. At some point, you just have to get started. I hope this book has at least given you some ideas of how to get started. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. You can find my information at practiceown.com. That's practiceown.com. Also, thank you so much for listening to this book. If you can, leave a review on Amazon or Audible or wherever you're listening to this book. That would be super helpful for me and for helping other people to find this book so that they can find out more about practice ownership. Thank you so much, and I wish you the best of luck in finding and buying your first dental practice.